This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening, everyone. All right, welcome to the Southampton Select Board meeting for August 2nd, 2022. Calling the meeting to order, and let's please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Good. All right, we have 4 of us tonight. Francine won't be with us tonight, so we will proceed with open time for the public. Yes, Tammy.
Good evening. Tammy Walunas.
In case we don't know who you are, is this?
Yeah. I have been baking, and I have stuff in the oven. Tammy Walunas, 298 College Highway. On behalf of the Historical Society, I want to remind people we won't be meeting again until after, but Celebrate Southampton is happening on the 12th and the 13th. The 12th, there's a grab-and-go dinner that the church is doing. Please call the church to pre-order your meal. They're only $10. And then we have Time Stretchers, which is Barry Cyril's band, and that is at 7 o'clock until 8:30 or whenever they decide to stop playing. And then the next day is the big day. We have memory hour starting at 10 at the church, and then we have craft vendors that'll be at the pavilion area, along with food trucks. We have Local Burgie and Bistro Bus. We have all kinds of activities, family, fun, free activities. And it starts 11:30 to 4. There's music, tons of music, performers. Please come down, come see what it is. And we have ice cream. Free ice cream. So come on down and see me, please.
Yeah, great.
Okay? Thank you.
Yeah, no, hopefully have a great turnout. Hopefully, I think everybody's ready for a big picnic and party. All right. Thanks, Tammy. All right. Robert, yes.
Hi there. Robert Floyd, 166 College Highway. I'm here as the cemetery commissioner and the superintendent of our 3 cemeteries. And before I address why I'm up here, the fence, on the 13th, Saturday, Judith Miller Conlin, Cemetery Commission Chair, will be talking at the church at 10 o'clock on the West Part Cemetery, which is a real gem in town and not that frequented, but really super historic. And she'll be talking about that with great passion.
Yes.
I'm here tonight to talk about the fence. And I have no answers. I have a lot of information, and I'll take all the questions. And I have a little bit of history I'd like to share. Okay. The fence runs the length of the eastern Route 10 boundary and extends partway down the north and south sides. It is falling in disrepair and is in danger of being destroyed by corrosion and time. Despite earnest efforts over the past 35 years to keep the fence painted and protected, it continues to degrade. It is clear the only way to save this valuable historic town landmark is to embark on a professional program of refinishing and restoration. The fence is over 100 years old. Reference was made to its purchase in the town records of December 23, 2 days before Christmas, 1899. Voted that we, the inhabitants of the town of Southampton, in town meeting assembled, extend to William Foley, one of our citizens, our thanks and sincere appreciation of his kindness in bestowing the generous and useful gift of $1,000 to beautify and adorn our cemetery, where rests the sacred dust of many of our former townsmen. I've got a few notes here, and I'm done reading. In 2003, we presented a proposal to the CPA for funds. When it was first presented, we received bids from 2 different contractors. Each one removed sandblasted, recoated, did repairs, and reinstalled the pieces with new bolts, etc. 2 coating styles were tried, epoxy and powder coating. The powder coat finish was estimated at $300 per section. In 2006, a section was damaged by a vehicle, and similar on-site straightening and recoating was over $650. Realistically, this must be considered the minimum. That was back then. Although the entire fence is in need of attention, at the time we proposed dividing the work into 2 distinct parts. The current proposal then would consist of the 80 8-foot sections and 6 posts that face Route 10. The next project will be to renovate the south boundary fencing running on the High Street side and the north abutting former Southampton Antiques. The cost of renovation then per 8-foot section or ornamental post was estimated at $650, depending on the repairs needed, for an estimated total of $61,000 for the first project. The second project, roughly $32,000. We have contacted many fabricators. They're no longer in business. COVID has hit some, and the ones we contacted at the beginning of the year passionately have not returned our phone calls. It's a big project. I imagine the fear of liability. We still have a lot of hope. We met recently with the chair, Bob Kozik, of the Historical Commission. He volunteered to contact Massachusetts Historical and find what their recommended vendors are, mostly in the east part of the state. I've dug up a few, one in Sanesfield, Mass, and one in Connecticut. We're still hopeful. And, you know, the tree fell. Didn't damage any of the fence. It knocked it down. It kind of bent a little bit, but nothing was broken. Somebody did hit the pillar of the gate, the northern gate, and smashed it. And a lot of the welding is, well, I don't know the technical term, rotted. Mm-hmm. It has to be done by a professional. Yes, we did think about replacing the fence with those sections on the northern section, but the difficulty is in placing them in the ground, putting that long shaft in, bolting them, and we really didn't want to move them if we didn't have to. We do intend to find vendors one way or the other and obtain quotes and approach the CPA. We're looking at funding for grants, and that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if, since I raised this at the last meeting, you know, back when you did it last time around, it came in around somewhere around $93,000 as an estimate. So I wonder if the Cemetery Commission would consider just putting forward, in my mind, putting forward an ARPA application, not for the full amount, but even for $50,000 to say, you know, can we get that, and within 12 months or 8 months or whatever, some sort of, and go out and get matching CPC, and, you know, obviously there's going to be timelines to deal with, and I have no idea what the rest of the committee thinks about this.
Yeah.
But it's a starting point. It gives
we haven't thought of that. It's a great idea.
And then possibly then go to the voters to get the CPC for the other matching part of it. There is a company in Holyoke that does the power coating and all that. I can send you that information on the side. I have no idea who would actually do the install on that, but I just think that there's a unique opportunity here that normally the cemetery doesn't have a funding source of this size.
Right.
That it'd be a shame not to try and take advantage of it if you could.
Yeah, it's a great fence, a lot of passion. We've had students from the high school paint it years and years and years ago. Pam Gaspar, former commissioner, organized a group of people painting it in the heat and the you know, in the hot sun.
Yeah.
And
that was only like a year or maybe two at most, 2 years ago.
The tree fell August 12th in a late afternoon storm. We've got great photographs to provide. The pillar in the north gate was hit and run and smashed it hard, probably did damage to the vehicle. But that's where we're at. We have a new commissioner and more ideas, more, you know, 3 heads versus or new blood versus he has experience. Sisters of St. Joseph Cemetery. He's done superintendent duties and super problem solver, so hands-on. So we want to get this done. This is our priority.
Okay.
We knew we had to deal with a fence, but we didn't expect the tree nor the collision, but that's just simply accelerated. But thank you
Sure.
for that suggestion.
Good. Well, thank you for the update. Does
Yeah,
anybody have any
thanks.
questions? or-
No, when I was talking, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I don't. Okay. Thanks for the information, it's really helpful. I think it's a beautiful fence. And I don't know, with that, those figures that you gave me, is there money in the historical account for CPA that would actually
is.
cover that?
There is.
Okay.
I don't know what they have in the kitty there for that account.
Right.
But there is, and that would be the umbrella for restoration.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one time when I was down at Kona Park for an event, I was talking to Bill Barkham, and he actually had a
Yeah, I
suggestion.
followed up on that, Lee, personally. I met with him.
Okay.
And he said he was going to check, and when I followed up with him in person again, thank you, he said that person's no longer wanting to do that type of business. So, yeah, we've had
Thank
some.
you.
Yeah.
We followed up a lot of leads.
Well, it's such a specialty. I'm sure it's hard to find people that are still in business that know how to do it and do it correctly.
Yeah, and when we're ready, I meet with Ed, do we invite all the vendors down for an afternoon and show them what it
Yeah,
is, define a scope of work, go out for requests for quotes, and we certainly need to do it properly to qualify for funding, or for grant, or for CPA funding.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Good, all right. Thank you,
Thank
Robert.
you for
Appreciate
listening. Cheers.
it. All right. Okay, if nothing else, we will move into our next topic, which is the public hearing, poll hearings. So I guess I'm formally opening the poll hearings, is that correct?
Open it and I'll read the
Yep.
notice. Petition for poll and locations. The Southampton Select Board will hold a hearing at 6 p.m. on August 2nd, 2022 in the Town Hall first floor meeting room located at 210 College Highway on the petition of N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, and Verizon New England, Inc., requesting permission to relocate and/or install poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way. Locations: install 8 mid-span poles and 9 new anchors along North Montgomery Road and Russellville Road, Southampton, for system reliability upgrades. Reason: system reliability upgrades. Wherefore they pray that after due notice and hearing is provided by law, they be granted joint or identical locations for and permission to construct and maintain a line of poles, wires, and cables together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as they may find necessary. Said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the field plan herewith and made part of hereof marked 8734830. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. Your petitioners agree to reserve space for 1 cross arm at a suitable point on each of said poles for the fire and police telephone signal wires belonging to the municipality and used by it exclusively for municipal purposes. N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, and Verizon New England, Inc., Christine Fowles, Chair, Select Board, Town of Southampton.
Okay, and we have a representative from Eversource here. Please come on up and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Joe McCarthy. I work for TRC. Eversource contracts us to do designs like this, so we got this one, and it's a system reliability upgrade. So Eversource wants to replace the outdated and sort of overloaded equipment that's there with new, bigger wire to increase the capacity. It'll allow them to transfer load in storm events so that fewer customers will be affected by outages, and also just generally replacing really old wire that is just kind of at the end of its lifetime. The bigger wire does require a little bit in the way of upgrades, so we have these mid-span poles because of excessively long spans between, lengthy spans of wire that we need to reduce to, meet standards and clearances, and that's what these mid-spans are for.
Okay. And so these are 8 new poles that are going to be going up, is that right, on this section?
That looks correct to me, yes.
8 mid-span poles, whatever, and 9 new anchors. So the anchor is,
The anchor goes along with the pole, so that's when, in the language there, the supporting equipment. It's the wire that goes diagonally from the top of the pole down behind it
Got it.
to support, any strain pulling it laterally.
yep. Got it. And it looks like, as I've driven up Russellville and Montgomery, it looks like the poles are a lot longer than the ones that are up there as well.
Yeah, that's another part of these upgrades, the clearance. The wire is heavy, it sags down more, and also just over the years, they kind of increased the minimum clearances. So it's just to make sure everything fits.
Okay, all right.
So the 8 poles will be in addition to what's already there?
That's correct. So when we say mid-span, we mean there's an existing piece of wire between 2 poles, and we want to put one in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's a little bit offset one way or the other to make room for a driveway or whatever.
And how many homes will this service?
Well, this is actually a circuit backbone, so this is coming from the feeder, so it's all the homes along these streets. And the way that they can transfer load nowadays with like the smart switches that they have, when there's an outage somewhere, they can isolate that really well. This stretch of road, they couldn't really isolate it because they can't put all the load electrically on that small wire. So they're now able to, if we complete this project, they'll be able to kind of shift all the load. So if one substation, for example, goes out, they could, a lot fewer customers will be affected by it. So that's the idea.
Okay. All right. Any other questions about this?
Right, so just to clarify, this is enhancing the existing poles. You're not replacing any. You're adding additional poles in between the poles?
Oh, I think all of the poles on the road will be replaced.
Okay.
In addition to that, we're petitioning for these new locations.
And the new locations, the property owners who abut that, they're aware of the location that you're targeting?
They're invited?
And
Butter cards were mailed out for this meeting, yes.
to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
There was no objections?
Not that I've heard, no.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? If not, we take a vote to approve this, or?
First of all, if any other select board questions, then you would take a motion and second and vote to close the public hearing, and then you would vote on the petition.
Okay. But there's a second part of this, or is that a second?
It's a
Second
separate
public meeting.
whole hearing.
Okay, so we close one and open another,
Yep,
is that? Okay.
correct.
Thank you for directing me. All right, if there are no other questions, could we have a motion?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, and next?
Do we have to also, we're going to vote on them together, or do you want a motion for approval of this?
I was wondering if we could vote on both of them together, or should they be separate?
Separately.
Separate, okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion then
All
to
right.
approve the 8 mid-span poles, 9 anchors along North Montgomery Road and Russellville Road.
Okay, could I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion's approved. Thank you, all right. And then we will have open another public hearing for
Here,
a
here.
slightly different location, somewhat in the same neighborhood, but a slightly different one, from what I'm understanding here. I'll let Ed go ahead with that one, too.
Certainly, thank you. Town of Southampton Select Board petition for polling locations. The Southampton Select Board will hold a hearing at 6:05 PM on August 2nd, 2022, in the Town Hall first floor meeting room located at 210 College Highway on the petition of NSTAR Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, and Verizon New England, Inc., requesting permission to relocate and/or install poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way. Locations: Russellville Road, install 1 new pole on Russellville Road, Southampton. Reason: Eversource is requesting permission to install a new pole 38/39M2 on the north side of Russellville Road to reduce the span distance between poles. Wherefore, they pray that after due notice and hearing is provided by law, they be granted joint or identical locations for and permission to construct and maintain a line of poles, wires, and cables, together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as they may find necessary. Said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the field plan herewith and made a part hereof marked 8734927. Also for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as each of said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. Your petitioners agree to reserve space for one crossarm at a suitable point on each of said poles for the fire and police telephone signal wires belonging to the municipality and used by it exclusively for municipal purposes. NStar Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, and Verizon New England, Inc. Christine Fowles, Chair, Select Board, Town of Southampton.
Okay. Go ahead, Joseph.
So this is actually the same project. There were two petitions submitted. It's the way we internally have split up the work. Makes sense electrically, but it doesn't really make sense to do it separately as a petition. However, that's what happens. So it is the exact same reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
So on this one, it's just the new pole, the one new pole that's being added.
This is a new pole in between. This is,
Right.
It would be, yeah, another mid-span pole, yes.
I think the first petition was replacing the existing, and the second one is adding the new pole.
Well, so the first one is, I believe Eversource has the right to replace the existing ones as long as they're essentially the same location.
They do.
Already, so they would have already been petitioned, I guess. But so the first one was for poles just further down the road than this one is. This is kind of a separate section of the project electrically, but it's the same overall project.
so it looks like this is on Russellville Road, right sort of near after Gilbert and after that would be what, Fulmer Road? Right at the corner maybe of Fulmer, thereabouts? So reducing the distance,
Yes.
as I see this map, looks like 160 feet right now, reducing it down to 86, is that right? Feet? In terms of the map that we have.
So, yeah, so to read the map there, yeah, this is on, right, yeah, you're right, it's on Russellville Road there, near Gilbert. So the existing poles are approximately, it's 100 and, 200 and, okay, I can't do mental math, 246 feet apart, which
okay.
is, especially because the wires cross over the road there,
Yeah.
Diagonally, it gets low, and with these heavy wires, it really becomes an issue with clearances, because the lowest wire obviously has to be high enough that trucks can pass under,
Sure.
and then everything else above that just needs to work. So rather than setting exceptionally large, tall poles that have to be really strong, by adding another pole, and we can keep everything kind of similar to what's existing. You did notice that it'd be about slightly taller poles, but these would be 45-foot poles, I believe.
Okay. All right. Any questions on this one? Anyone? All right. If not, could I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And now with that, could we have a motion to approve this pole location?
I move to approve the new pole 3039 M2 on the north side of Russellville Road by Eversource.
Okay. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks so much.
All right. We will get those signed and we'll be all set. Great. All right, and I think, as far as I know, everyone, our mics are working, so just be sure that you're speaking into your mics. But hopefully we don't have the issues that we've had in the past here. I think we've got things squared away finally here. So next on the agenda, I believe we have a presentation. Lucy Dalton, our town clerk, would like to talk to us about the new election law update. Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Lucy Dolan, Town Clerk. I just wanted to quickly go over the election advisory that was sent out in June. I think I sent you all a copy of it through email. Just a reminder about some deadlines, early in-person voting hours for the September 6th primary are Saturday, August 27th through September 2nd. August 27th, we're going to be doing 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're only obligated to one weekend day for that because of our population. Monday through Friday, the 29th through the 2nd is going to be regular business hours, 8:30 to 4, and then Friday is going to be 8:30 to 5 by appointment only. Mail-in voting, the cards went out the week of July 9th. We've gotten about 700 of them, cards, so we have to mail out those ballots. We just got the ballots. We're going to be starting to mail them tomorrow. We did receive about 70 cards from unenrolled voters who did not pick a party for the ballot to be mailed to them. There is nothing in the statute saying that we have to mail them a ballot because we don't know what ballot to mail them. So out of courtesy, we are going to either make some phone calls or we're going to be getting a notification template letter from the state. I talked to Elections Division Legal today, and they're going to be sending us a template of what to send to the voter, asking them which ballot they want for the primary.
Right, so you at least know who to address it to. I mean, you have their name and address. At
Right.
least, yeah.
So
Just a reminder for folks that even though they got those in the mail, they do have to request.
Right, if you're unenrolled, you have to request your ballot,
Right.
so.
But also, if you want to vote by mail, you have to request the ballot.
Yes,
Right,
right,
so,
yeah.
yep.
You have to vote, if you want to receive it by mail, you have to fill out the application that we have or the card.
Right.
Lucy, so you said there were how many unregistered, 86, give or take?
Unenrolled, around 70.
Oh, unenrolled.
Yeah,
not
unenrolled.
Unregistered.
No, unenrolled,
Okay.
yeah.
So they had
Yeah,
designated a
they got
party.
the card, but they,
I got you, no, I misheard.
yeah, that's okay.
Misheard you.
And just to remind people, unenrolled is the new word for being independent many years ago. Some people are still saying, I received something saying I'm unenrolled, I'm not unenrolled, I'm a voter and I want to vote. And just a reminder that
is confusing.
it's just a new word. The postage is going to cost us money because the ballots with the envelopes weigh about 2 ounces, so they're about 86 cents per ballot. Times that by around 700 ballots that we have to mail out, and that's only so far, you know. Mail-in voting ends, the application is August 29th, and then we have a lot of time left for people to request them. I went to the Western Mass Town Clerk meeting Friday morning, and they talked about police officer assignments, because in the new advisory, it was effective immediately that the law regarding assignment of police officers at polling places is amended to require the select board, town council, or city council to assign police officers and constables to polling places. Previously, this was the responsibility of the chief of police. And I talked to Chief Illingsworth, and he said that, here's an email from him. He said he doesn't foresee anything really changing. If the select board prefers constables versus police, that would be fine with him. That would be up to you all. You also do have the ability, I found out on Friday, to write a letter, you know, stating that you waive your right to choose the police detail, and you would leave that up to the chief or myself. So, but if you do choose to do it, then you have to check with the chief to make sure that there's detail at the election.
And how many people are usually selected on the police?
We usually have one police officer. They do 2 shifts sometimes, so,
Okay. So just election day itself?
yeah, just election day, yep. There is going to be an online portal for people to do mail-in voting. The state has not got that up running yet. Just wanted to go over just 2 more things. On August 27th, that's the last day to register to vote, and it is also the first day of in-person early voting, so people who are not registered can come in, register to vote. As long as we can get them processed into the VIRS system, we can have them vote that day, which I was surprised that that happened, but that's how it works out, so we're going to do the best we can. don't think I had anything else. I just wanted to go over those things with you.
So Lucy, in the past, Secretary Galvin's been really good about getting extra appropriations when these things come up. And
Yep.
and the money usually trails later on.
Right,
But he
yeah.
communicates what he's doing. Has he indicated anything yet?
No,
No? Okay.
no,
And
no.
then, assuming nothing comes in, what impact is this going to have on your budget?
Well, I'm going to look at election registration budget, not the wages, the registration expenses, and see if I can take it from there. Jen and I have, talked about the numbers, and so, fiscal year '23 with this mailing and, the local election and the November election, it might take a little bit of a chunk out. So far, it's around $650 in postage right now. So we'll
And so
see,
for
we'll
this
see how that
one,
goes.
to the extent you can call people that are designated as unenrolled who didn't select which party ballot they want,
Yep.
you can take that over the phone and mail them
Yes,
one without
yes,
having to do anything
yeah.
else?
I would rather have it in writing, but we were told that we can make the phone call, so, yeah.
Okay, all right. All
We're
right,
not obligated, but,
Yeah,
out of
well, I
courtesy, we are
yeah. I
going to
think-
do the best we can.
Yeah.
So,
I think the state has done quite an amazing job for making voting available
Yeah.
for all here in terms of some of the, the parameters that they've laid out here. So just a
And I-
reminder that the primary is September 6th,
Yep.
which is not that far away.
yep, it's from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And if I can remind people who do get those mail-in voter cards to please sign them, because we did receive a few that don't have signatures, and so those have to go back as well,
Yeah.
so. And I think that was all I wanted to talk about. I won't talk about November until October, but
Yeah. So by what point do we need to make a decision about
as soon as possible.
the police scenario? I mean, I would think we would work with Ian to
Yeah, I'm imagining he would just make a recommendation.
recommendation to us in
Right,
terms of.
yeah.
And actually, who the staff
Right,
person or people will be,
Right.
and
Right.
then we'll just,
Yeah.
imagine sign.
I think
Yeah.
that would be fine, because
Okay.
to me, I mean, I think that's the simplest way. He knows his roster, he knows who's going to be
Right.
scheduled, and,
Yeah.
would make that recommendation to us.
Yep.
I
And
would
that
think.
just has to be done before the primary, right?
It should be, yeah,
Yeah.
you have to have a summer meeting
So we should
before
probably do
September,
it.
before September.
At the next
So,
meeting,
yeah.
probably on the 16th. We should
Yep.
probably do that.
And then I gave Ed the warrant to be signed for that September 6th primary, so.
Yeah, we have it in our packet tonight.
And as far as election workers,
That's coming up soon.
yep, that's coming up. I just wanted to talk about that really
Yeah.
quick. I'm having a training on Thursday for those that get appointed, because we're going over the machine again for the election. So I invited some of the poll workers that have worked in the past that are on this list, hopefully will get appointed again, to come in to do some new training, so they are aware of election laws, so.
Very good.
All right,
All right, super. No,
All right,
Any
anybody-
other questions? Yeah, John, sorry?
I don't have a question. I was just going to make a motion.
Yeah.
okay.
So I'll make a motion that the select board delegate responsibility to the police chief to assign police officers and constables as he sees fit to polling places effective with the very next election, and he just communicate successful placement to the select board. So empower the chief to keep doing it and just tell us that he did it, since the
And
law
I'd
says we're
maybe
responsible
have
for it.
him try to do that for the next meeting on August 16th, so we have enough time for him.
I just want to have a time limit to it. I mean, I think if we do it for are we talking about just the primary? Are we talking about the
Well, I
primary?
would say for all elections.
It's for all elections. This
Going
is the new
forward.
law, yeah.
Okay, I actually would
Yeah.
feel, I'm not sure I feel comfortable forever. I think I would just, because I don't know, years down the road, there would be.
The remainder of this fiscal year?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sure,
for this fiscal year, I think.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
okay.
all right. That's clarity in there.
I'll
Remainder of
second
the fiscal
that.
year? Okay, all right. There's a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
All right, thank you. Okay, thanks.
And I'll just let the board know that Lucy added the 2 sample ballots, the Republican and the Democrat, to the town clerk page of the website today, so anybody that's interested in it can go there and see them.
Good.
Yeah, and you can also go on Secretary Galvin's website, and it says election information. You put in your name, your address, and you can pull up the ballot right there, too, as well.
Okay,
All right.
good. Thanks,
All right,
Lucy.
thank you.
Chair, just wondering if we're able to skip to the next 2 of the election workers and also the warrant, before we do the reports, for Lucy's sake? Would that work out all right?
We could, if, Lucy, if you're going to hang around for a minute, we could move the agenda a little bit fast forward here on that, sure.
Is it?
So we'll come back to the town administrator and the select board reports and go to the appointments and resignations. And
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the election workers that are listed here, all of them title election worker, all of them term to expire August 15, 2023. Susan Seabolt, Stacy Schmeidel, Jane Howard, Janet Brown, Marion Hamill, Jessica Newswender, Mary Robinson, Patrice Crevier, Joanne Perrier, Cindy Palmer, Sharon Nielsen, Virginia Huntley, and Eileen Hamill.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Well,
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
I just wanted a question. So we already have appointed one in the past. So this is, I think it was William Walden.
So William is the registrar.
Okay.
So that's different. These are the election workers.
Okay, okay.
So, and thank you, because, you know, not all of these people will be able to work. Some of them can work some of the hours, so I appreciate you appointing all of them, because now I can have a,
Okay.
you know, a list to go through. So.
And I'm assuming there'll be a systematic way of asking people to work?
Oh, yeah, I do. I call and email, definitely, and I ask them their availability, so, yeah. Yep.
Good, okay. All right, then with that, let's jump down to the first issue under, first item under new business, which is the warrant for the 2022 state primary election. Again, the date is September 6th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrant for the 2022 state primary.
Okay,
Second.
all right, and just to note, just for the public who's listening, in case they have forgotten who they need to come in and vote for, the candidates, as Lucy mentioned, the polls will be open from 7 in the morning till 8 at night, and
On September
on September 6th. And the voting will be for the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, treasurer, auditor, representative in Congress, representative in Congress for the 1st District, counselor for the 8th District, senator in general court for Hamden and Hampshire District, representative in general court for the 4th Hamden District, district attorney for the Northwestern District, and the sheriff for Hampshire County.
Right. And all those names are on the ballots that are on the website, or on the state's website.
Okay, so, all right, so that's the slate. We have a motion, I believe, for it. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any comment, discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
so approved. Thank you. We will get that signed and officialized here. Thank you. Good suggestion to move that forward, Rini, thank you.
Yep.
All right, and then I think we'd be next to Ed for the town administrator report in just a second.
Did you get a printed copy of the town administrator report?
He handed it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, might be.
Okay. Okay, Ed, you're on.
Thank you. Updates. Let's see, our auditors, Melanson, were here last week for their field work for our fiscal year 21 financial audit. They were here for 3 days and have completed that portion of their field work. They did let us know that they would have some follow-up questions and would be reaching back out. They kept Bradley and Jen very busy last week. Governor Baker has signed the fiscal year 2023 state budget, which came out of the Compromise Committee after comparing the state aid to Southampton from the approved budget to the revenue figures which we had used for our town budget for the annual town meeting. The Chapter 70 school aid and unrestricted government aid figures, which we used for our budgeting process, which came from the Senate version of the state budget. Those revenue figures which were approved are identical to the figures which we used in our revenue estimates.
You're kidding. Oh, we're going to get more.
Is that what you?
They certainly.
I'm not questioning you, but the last file that I have in my system here that we voted on, they're less.
Yeah, I thought it was like at least 5% increase.
The Senate had already built it in, so they made it sound like a real big deal when it had come out of
When it
I
actually
was
passed?
counting on
the
that. for the,
Compromise Committee, so,
retirement.
All right, if you say so.
yeah,
Even the school aid too?
yes, right on the number.
Total act,
Right on,
everything is
right on the number for what they have listed now for the fiscal year 2023 cherry sheet numbers. I was surprised.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Okay.
Bradley Oxton, Jen Day, and I had the demonstrations for the 4 modules from SoftWrite's Springbrook financial software system, the financial, the payroll, the tax collections, and also an additional module for human resources and utility billing. We will have the demonstrations from Vadar on their financial software system on August 17th and 18th. Both of these are cloud-based financial solutions. Website redesign, Civic Plus, the preferred vendor for our town website redesign and conversion, has changed the methodology of how they charge for conversions and the annual support costs. Their annual support costs have increased fairly substantially and has a built-in 5% per year escalation cost calculated into it. The Ad Hoc Technology Committee met last Monday, and by comparing this to the final site proposal alternative, would like to recommend that the town utilize the and contract with Final Site to redesign and convert our town website. And, you know, just a little bit further than that, originally the annual support cost for Civic Plus was $2,635 a year. In their new proposal, it is, let's see, what do you want? Oh, God. Yeah. I'm doing this by memory. I believe it's 30, oh, God. I shouldn't do this. It's 30, let's say, no, it's going to $4,100 a year and has a 5% escalation cost each year going out. The final site proposal was $5,500 a year. Originally, the Ad Hoc Technology Committee felt strongly that the final site was a much better product and more user-friendly. However, the difference between the $5,500 and $2,600 was about $3,000 a year. So now as they look at it, that has shrunk considerably, and when you look at the 5% escalation cost on Civic Plus, by the time the 5-year contract's over with, they'd be identical. So they will be recommending that we do a conversion to final site.
Can I ask a couple questions about that before you go?
You may.
We got an email from, I think, Dan Labelli, or one of the people from the Technology Committee, and we got a copy and a link to the site. The site that we got was really focused on schools. Was that a final site?
That's final site, yes.
Okay.
They started in the schools and have progressed to
Municipal?
into municipal, yes.
Okay. And does it allow what they had hoped for department heads to be able to update
Yes,
information they're on?
this project is actually more user-friendly than the Civic Plus would have been. One of the municipalities I contacted, because they're actually changing from Civic Plus to Final Site, was Athol. And Athol was changing because the Civic Plus just was too many steps, they felt, for their department heads to be updating the website, and the Final Site was a more simplified version with less steps.
And just two other questions. Is 5,500 within the budget for the website design?
Yes, because actually, I have to go back and look, but I think the total comes out to $13,000, and what we had requested was, I believe, $15,000 from ARPA.
From ARPA funds for the website
Oh,
design.
okay,
For the
but it's not
website.
in the operating budget for website at all?
There is some, because don't forget,
Yeah, I
we
thought so,
are,
but I thought it was 2,000 and something.
yeah, because we are currently utilizing our current version, so we're going to use that
Right,
for
right,
probably a part of a year, probably about half a year, and then we'll be
And then ARPA
converted.
for that rest, and then figure it out from there?
Right, correct.
And last question, we can't do a 5-year contract, right?
And I'd have to go back and take a look with, I don't believe Final Sites is actually a 5-year contract. I think it is a 3, but yeah, actually, you're right, my Civic Plus was a 5.
But I mean, we can't because of a bylaw, right? We're not going to be able to contract.
Well,
with-
anything over 3,
go to a town
we have to go back to a town meeting for.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we can't do it.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good, yep. Okay.
Let's see. I have provided the contract for the Manhan Meadows Sanctuary Trail Restoration and Building to the Conservation Commission for their signatures. They did meet last night, and I know Marla, even though she's away on vacation, was going to ask them to come in and sign that contract. Once it has the required signatures, it will be sent to the vendor, and the work on the trails will be scheduled. And then lastly, Sharon Wilcox, Chief Financial Officer in West Springfield, has begun to be Bradley Oxon's, our town accountant's mentor. They had their first meeting last week. West Springfield also utilizes the SoftWrite financial software.
Oh, that's great.
And then upcoming select board meetings, August 16th and 30th.
Okay.
So is it hopeful that the Manhan Meadows Sanctuary, the restoration will happen before winter?
It has to, because the drop dead date they gave me for the information for quotes and what's in the contract is November, oh God, it's either like 13th or 18th of 2022.
Yeah.
So all the references got checked out and everything?
It was like pulling teeth to get them all back, but yes, they did check out.
Thanks.
Good, okay. All right, if nothing else, how about some select board reports? Anybody have anything, any meetings that have happened over the last week or two? John? wanna
Yeah,
start?
so PPP met, and most of the things are on the agenda to be brought up tonight, but 2 items that we did take up that wouldn't come before this body now, just to update you on, is we did score the conservation position, and we also scored the job description for the proposed new position of a supervisor at the wire department. So those have gone back. I imagine we'll see further developments later on.
Okay.
Okay. Good, anything else? Rini? I know you were
Not a lot
gone,
of
but-
meetings. CPC hasn't met. Public Safety is meeting next Monday at 4:30. COA Building Committee meeting is not until the 18th, so the week after next at 12:30. COA did meet in July. They're meeting in August, next week, August 10th at 4. Board of Assessors did meet last week. There are currently no applications for the principal assessor position. When it gets closer to September, right now it's posted on the main website where most people that are assessors would be looking, so they're going to kind of regroup and see if anything else needs to be done. They continue to work on the work of the office. They're doing a great job capturing and right-sizing tax revenue for both property and personal property. The 3-year contract was signed with Nearview, which is the aerial imaging software program. This will also be very valuable for other departments, especially like conservation, building inspector, police and fire. For the assessors, it will be helpful for updating property cards. And Dave and Janine continue to work in the office. Dave's up to 15 hours, and pretty sure we're going to see a continuation of the temporary position, or, not emergency, but temporary.
Right, okay,
That's it.
all right, thanks. Joy?
The only committee that met was Conservation Commission last night, and beyond what's going on with the Manhan Meadows, there was nothing out of the ordinary to report. Planning Board's meeting tomorrow night at 7. Housing Authority is meeting the 8th, and Open Space is meeting August 18th, and Conservation Commission has another meeting August 15th, but other than that,
Okay, kind of a quiet week or so, more or less, all right.
summertime.
Now, what I'm going to ask, Francine asked that I asked, because she's out of town, there should be, I haven't seen it scheduled, but she's under the impression that there's a Board of Health meeting scheduled, or would be scheduled for August 9th, which is next Tuesday, I believe. And she will not be able to attend. I was wondering if anybody would attend in her place. I don't know the time, because I don't see it posted, so it's sort of a TBD. Is anybody available to possibly attend on next Tuesday in Francine's absence?
Depends on the time.
Depends on the time.
Yeah, I
Right.
think it's usually 5-ish, but I'm not sure on that.
I do have a Board of Assessors meeting at 4. So if it's not exactly at that time, I'll be here anyway. So do you know when it is by any chance?
No, I went and looked at my town government today, and it's not posted as of yet, so I do not know.
Okay.
But you're correct, my memory is they've been usually having them around 5 o'clock.
5-ish, maybe 5:30, somewhere in there. So if you're already here, would you mind
I wouldn't
sitting in on
mind,
that?
but if it's at 4, then that would. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be
if it's
able to do
earlier,
that.
that would let you out. Okay, all right. And then if
You said it was
something happens-
August 9th?
Yeah, there's nothing scheduled yet, but
Oh, okay.
Francine had it in her notes from the last
Their
meeting.
meeting?
That they were supposed to have a meeting on the 9th, so since she's not here, she asked that I ask if someone would attend in her absence. So we'll put Rini down, and if something happens and the schedule conflicts,
Yep.
I'll come to Joy. How's that?
Okay.
Depending on the time, sure.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. All right, from my end, let's see, just briefly on the Ad Hoc Grant Committee, we're actually meeting tomorrow. We're still looking at possibilities of just grants coming up, what deadlines are out there, and what are ones that we might need to try and put in an application for. I think, as I mentioned, we've been trying to find some things that would help out with some traffic safety ones that Chief Illingsworth has been concerned with. A lot of those are not of the right timing right now for us to apply for. The one bit of news we do have, which is slightly unfortunate, I guess I would say, on July 20th, we got word from the folks at the MVP, the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Action Grant. The application that had been put in for the culvert asset management was not approved.
Oh, that's too bad.
So that's our first one not approved, and basically it was about I think it was about $140,000 grant, if I'm not mistaken. And it was basically, they had a very competitive round, is all they said, and they hope to have a new round maybe in the spring. But they had a lot of applications apparently, and we weren't as competitive perhaps as some of the others. So anyway, first one that we've had to deal with.
It's too bad.
And then other things we haven't heard of yet. We know that, I think we had said that Rep. Pease had put in a line for the $100,000 for the Mass Trails acquisition into the bond bill, and we haven't heard anything yet about the bond bill results, whether that's made it to the governor's desk yet or not. So waiting on that as well. But
Are you still waiting also on the grant to update the hazard mitigation plan?
Yes, I actually sent a note off yesterday saying, what's happening with this? Because we haven't heard, I mean, we put this one in several months ago now, and it's just an update of the hazard mitigation plan, and I don't know why it's taking so long. The person unfortunately is on vacation this
It's
week, so
federal, I
that's
think,
helpful.
right? That one's federal grant?
Yes, I think it is, actually. I have to look at that again. But it's hazard mitigation plan update. Anyway, the person, our contact person, she's on vacation this week, but it goes through her and then it went on to federal. Yeah, so it goes through the state to federal, I believe.
Is that the RAISE grant, or is that
No,
a different one?
Different one, yeah.
I've got
Has
too
an
many
acronym.
floating through
I
my
know,
mind right
I
now.
I can't think of what the acronym is, but I've been just waiting
Just
because I think.
HMPG is all it is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We really, because ours is expiring, if it's not already
Yeah, I
expired,
think it
we
has.
really need to.
It has, I believe, and they said as long as, it's in the process of being applied
Yeah.
for, there's no big problem with it, but nonetheless, it needs to
Okay.
get done. So we've got, 2 or 3 at least that we're still, waiting on. The other one, the one that Ed mentioned, the RAISE grant, again, for the Greenway, the bike path, more funds toward the design. We haven't heard on that one, but we've heard that the deadline for notifying people should be before our next select board meeting. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I might have some news on the 16th. Hopefully good news, we'll see, I don't know. All right, that's all we have in terms of committee reports, I think, for tonight. So with that, let's move right on down to new business. We've taken care of the very first one, the warrant for the primary, state primary, and number 2, Ed, authorization for the chair to sign the town administrator's biweekly payroll.
Yes, and since we're instituting these rules and regulations on the payroll, I don't feel I can be any different than anybody else. In the 4.5 years I've been here, I've turned in my own with my own signature, and it's never been signed. So I find that we're in a place that I'm either going to have to chase at least 3 of you down every payroll period for 3 of your signatures, or if the select board would be so willing, perhaps vote to authorize the chair to sign my biweekly payroll, and then I will just have to chase 1 of you down to sign it, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the chair to sign the town administrator's biweekly payroll, if she's so willing.
Indeed, yes.
Second.
Do we want to just modify that, just to say in the absence that the vice chair, so if Chris is on vacation, it needs to be
Yeah,
signed?
absolutely, yep. And the vice chair would also sign it in her absence.
All right. Could I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Yep. Good.
I charge $5 an autograph, just so you know. I don't know what Chris's rate is.
All righty, very good. Yeah, we're going to see if we can get a few things into a little bit of standardization and conformity here, but little bit by little bit. Okay, the next item on the agenda is responses to the landowner letters sent by the town on behalf of the Senior Center Feasibility Committee and the Public Safety Building Committee. And as you are aware, we sent out, actually it was 6 letters, but to 5 entities, because Marmon Keystone got a letter locally as well as to their corporate headquarters. And to my knowledge, to this day, we've only received 3. Everybody received their letter. We got the confirmation that they had all gotten their certified letters, but there have been 3 responses to us. One from the Murphys on 0 Fulmer Road. They do not have a particular interest in talking to the town about their property, so they have made that known. And then secondly, we have one submitted from Jim Labrie on behalf of Eugene Labrie, and just noting specific considerations here that he would like the select board to know. They would like to talk about a possible donation, sale, or combination thereof. Land must be used for the safety complex. Additional uses in combination with the safety complex are okay. Property is known as College Highway.
It's listed as 0 College Highway.
Probably, yeah. And then the second one that we received, who's also interested in talking to us, is from Ryan Gielaher. And his comments are that the property is close to Conant Park, would love to come in and discuss. It has water, gas, 3-phase power at the street, close to the proposed bike path. So there are 2 anyway that have expressed interest. At this point, should Marmon Keystone come in, we'd certainly entertain that, but I don't hold out hope that they will answer since they haven't already, although things maybe move slower in the corporate world from their, I'm sure that the local folks don't have the decision-making power here at Marmon Keystone. So when it went to their headquarters in, I forget, Pennsylvania, I think is where I sent it, that may take them a while to even react to it, who knows. But at this point in time, there's been no other acknowledgement other than the fact that we know that they got the certified letters. So that's where we are with the letters that went out to the landowners.
So for the standpoint of the Public Safety Building Committee, they proposed 2 potential sites that were town-owned land. One of them was the existing fire station property, and also the Fulmer Road Highway Department. So those were the 2 that were actually town-owned.
Correct.
And then their interest was in the Murphy property that was just declined,
Right.
and Labrie property, and Gielaher property,
I believe.
and Marmon Keystone, I believe. and also Moose Brook and
Yeah,
Route 10.
actually, yeah. We didn't
So
have, yeah,
we
didn't
haven't
get an
heard
answer back.
then from Marmon and the property up.
And the Gorals, right,
Gorals.
at Moose Brook, that's right.
And what is the
That's true.
30-day period? Is that now up, or
Yes, they had to respond by the
Yeah, the
27th.
27th.
27th of July?
27th of July was when they were asked to respond
Right.
to the letters that went out. So they had 30 days from when I sent the letter out to respond
And just to
to
review what the senior center group is looking at, as far as town-owned property, they discussed the existing building here, or existing property. They also talked about the current police station, and I think that was all in terms of the town-owned property, other than Labrie, and also Goral for the private, and then they were investigating the possibility of the Gillahers, Marmon Keystone, Labrie, and then the Harley Davidson potential. But I don't believe any letters went out to anyone. They were just discussing that as a possibility.
Nothing went up to Harley Davidson.
Correct.
No.
Well, the owner is not Harley Davidson now.
Yeah, I know,
It's-
but,
yeah.
no, nothing went.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we are. So I think a question came up at the public safety meeting the last time. What do we then do? And also on the agenda is the current charge for the committee is outdated because they kind of they did what they were charged to do. So we need to relook at the next charge. But they were just wondering what the next step would be in terms of contacting anybody that we haven't heard from yet. And this was a bit of a pressure point from last time, so I think it's really important that whatever we decide to do, we do more formally than anything.
Well, I think we've got, at least 2 individuals that are interested in talking to us, so we need to figure out how and when we do that. And we do that, with representatives from the various committees, when we schedule a time to do that. And, we need to talk about a process to entertain those discussions, I think. In terms of going forward with the charge on the building committee for the public safety, let me see this, the charge that's in here said that they needed to research and recommend their 2 locations, giving priority to town-owned land, and once a location is approved by the select board, a new charge will be issued. So in a way, we haven't approved anything, so they can still keep on looking, they can still work on their RFQ, I would think, just like the
Is that
senior
part of the
center
charge?
did. Couldn't they, they could go out and visit other public
Here's-
safety places. and-
Here's my real loose reading of this,
I don't know.
rather than doing another charge now, is, Chris is right. It says, committee shall report to the select board. Committee shall elect its own chair, vice chair, and clerk. They shall establish regular monthly meetings at a
I have to
minimum.
read the whole thing again, just at the end.
Yeah, and to me, it's,
It's at the very end where it was,
I don't think they've already done what
well,
the charge,
the committee shall research and recommend 2 locations, giving priority to town-owned land
which they've
to
done.
the select
Done.
board.
Yeah.
Once the location is approved by the select board, a new charge for the committee will be issued. Here's my interpretation. The final recommendation only comes at the end of a feasibility study of 1 or 2 properties through that feasibility study. Therefore, this would allow them to go through an RFQ and a feasibility study to bring that recommendation back to the select board.
I don't understand why we don't just, all they asked for, and I did ask the committee, what would they like me to bring back to the select board, and they said, I'll actually bring it up because I typed the minutes up.
a new charge.
A new charge, basically just, I don't think they basically did the second to last paragraph. They gave priority town-owned land, and they made a recommendation of 2 locations.
Yeah.
They gave plenty of locations.
I think
So
I think
it's really important to actually follow a really defined process for this committee. This Public Safety Committee has been in place for 20 years, and we don't have a complex. And I've been saying all along, if we continue to do things the way we did it in the past, we will never have a public safety complex. So my preference is to actually ask Mr. Labrie, who's the owner of the land, to actually send a letter to us saying that he authorizes his brother because that was another pressure point from last time. It was in both of their names, and it was taken out of Jim's name and only put in Eugene's. So if he's going to be the contact, I'm going to ask nicely, or ask Chris or whoever's going to follow up with these two people, please ask us to ask him to provide a letter from his brother authorizing us to communicate with Jim, because I've worked with siblings for a very long time in my career, and I think the more that's clear and in writing, the better.
Okay, we can do that. I think there's nothing that, I mean, to me, the next steps for them would be to do like what, I think we agree that the Senior Center Committee is ahead of the Public Safety Committee in terms of their steps, right? They've gone out, they've visited places, they've got an RFQ that they worked on that's now on the street, okay? So those would be, in my mind, the next two steps that Public Safety would probably want to do. If they want us to put that formally in writing, is that what they're asking us to do?
Yeah, I'm bringing up the minutes right now. They're already talking about the RFQ, they're talking about, how many bound copies. Sarah is actually in the process of taking, the chair, Sarah Stein is in the process of taking this, they're going to use the Senior Center one as a sort of a template and then work in some stuff. She questioned a lot in the meeting about, they looked at the last one that was done, and she asked the committee, should we include this, should we not include this? So just give me 1 minute. One thing that I just want to mention, I feel pretty strongly about this, is the Senior Center group went out to look at probably 6 to 8 senior centers. And some of them weren't the same size as our town, such as South Hadley, but I learned a tremendous amount about how important it is. For example, the reception desk has an area that's actually wheelchair accessible, so it's much lower. It's just a little place where someone with a wheelchair can come up and, take care of paperwork, whatever. So way long time ago, this committee went out and looked at a number of public safety complexes. And so I did say that I think it's very important that we visit. Williamsburg right now is in the middle of building one. They just knocked down a school.
And the school, yeah.
Westhampton, we know, is in the middle. I mean, I think we should have them come in and present to the committee. I think we should go visit. And so that's what I'm hoping that this committee would support. Let me just bring it up. Give me 1 minute, all right?
I mean, if they, go ahead.
If I could, I have a different interpretation of that second to last paragraph. So it says the committee shall research and recommend 2 locations, giving priority to town-owned lands. I'm not aware that they've narrowed this down to 2 recommendations.
They have two town-owned plus the other non-town-owned.
It says the committee shall research and recommend 2 locations, comma, giving priority to town-owned land, comma, to the select board. So at some point, the conclusion is they're going to come forward and say, here are the 2 properties. We were supposed to give priority to the town, and if they're not town properties, here's why we went away with that. But I think they need to get down to 2 locations in order to complete that paragraph. Because right now we have 2 private ones and 3 public.
Right.
Right?
And did they not, though, they haven't been before us?
Correct.
Well, no, in their presentations, they talked about their desire for the current fire station, I believe, and then the highway garage. Am I not right on that?
We don't have anything in writing. What is their final recommendation? And at that time, it would have been premature because the window was open for people. So, I mean, I don't disagree with where Maureen's going. I just think there's 2 steps in the middle. One is they need to go back now that we've closed the window of the 30 days, and these are the responses that came in. 2 things should happen. One, I think whether it's the chair of that committee or the chair of the select board, probably the chair of select board who sent the letters out, send out a follow-up letter to these 2 acknowledging that we received it. We are going to enter into the next phase. We anticipate that phase to roughly be 90 days, and we'll be in touch, right, instead of leaving them out there. Now the committee goes back and says, okay, this is what we have. Even if they take all 5 parcels and rank them 1 through 5, what are your 2 top as a committee? And we either agree or disagree at the select board level. And then that would then, I think, trigger, okay, now we need to know, what are you going to build? What's it going to look like? And get to the next steps.
Well, I think they were moving right along in terms of this. Like, I just found what they had said. It suggested that the charge is to create an RFQ and work with a consultant on site selection, schematic design, and budget. So that's what they had more or less requested when I asked that question. They also, I don't know if this is realistic, but they also said that their hope is to have a shorter time frame. I think the Senior Center Building Committee is talking about a 6-month time frame for the report to be ready, so that's going to bring it to March, which is going to be plenty of time before the May deadline date of the 2 years from Mr. Parsons' death. They're talking about a much tighter time frame so that they are hoping to go to town meeting in May with a request.
Because I also think it's important that the Public Safety Committee as a group rank their choices. And that the the committee that is looking at the senior center rank their choices, because we could have similar properties, but one could have it as a number 1 and the other one could have it as number 5.
Well, they sort of did. I think that the 2 properties that they identified that a town owned was here and the highway, and I think it's safe to say that their primary property is here, as in current fire station. And they ranked tied Gallagher and Labrie.
Then I'd say they need to put that in writing.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if that was clear. Was that clear when they presented?
I mean,
I think they did say it was sort of equally number 1.
I'm trying to think, because I think did they not give us something in writing for the presentation in
I
that
thought
meeting?
they
I think there
did.
was something
I'm
in
trying to
writing
look
that
it up.
Yeah.
we were working from.
Well,
that meeting.
that's basically what they did, though. They first was the current fire station, second was the town garage, and then equally number 1, believe me, I'm very clear about that, equally number 1 is the Gallagher property and
The Rue property,
the Root property.
yeah.
So I agree with asking Chris if she'd be kind enough to write back to these 2 people. I would also ask that we get something in writing if Jim is going to be the spokesperson for his brother, just because it's, there was some difficulty with that in the past. And I think the more specific we can be, the better.
Okay. I can certainly go ahead and do that. If you would so desire, I can certainly do the acknowledgement letter to both of those, or actually all 3 of them. We can write back to the Murphys too, just letting them know that we received their response.
Yep.
And do that.
Is there any interest in reaching out to people we didn't hear from?
Good question. I don't
Well,
know.
I think doing that we'll have to just pause, right? Because then we have to wait for those responses.
Right, yeah.
I mean, we've
Yeah,
gone through the
right.
process, we've given the 30 days.
We've given them the same amount of time as anybody else. I think if they were very interested, I mean, I do see that perhaps there would be a delay at a corporate level, maybe with Keystone.
Right. But at least
But-
they would write back,
So-
I would hope.
And again, I didn't go online and look at anything, but like the Gallagher property, is that titled in his individual name, or is it in the corporation name? Because it could have
I
different.
actually have the text, I think Mark
So,
Darnold sent out.
Perhaps a blanket form, just say, for those 2 that do want to have discussions,
Yeah.
moving forward, please have the property owner identify who the spokesperson and contact information will be.
Okay. All right. Will do. Okay.
I'm just kind of thinking, it would make sense if it was under
Okay.
Gallagher's Corporation,
Sure. Okay.
which may be a different
Yeah, maybe.
officer.
And actually, I can send you, I think Mark Darnold for the Public Safety Committee had actually brought up the text cards for all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So can we just have a motion that you'll let me go ahead and
All right, I'll make a motion
Write
to
these
authorize Chris Fowles to send out letters to the 3 people who responded and thank them for getting back to us, and ask them who would be the spokesperson, and if it's different from the current landowner, to have an acknowledgement letter.
Right. And you mentioned something about 90 days, or do you want to put a time frame in there that we would be getting?
Oh,
we would be-
yeah, instead of leaving it open-ended, just say that we're currently discussing the next phase. Please anticipate hearing from us
Okay,
within 60 and 90 days, or something like that, I don't want them to think the conversation's going to happen tomorrow.
right.
I just found the letter from the Public Safety Committee from the Select Board, and it basically, remember Sarah gave us that detailed list of,
Right.
you had specifically asked if we weren't going to use town-owned land, why?
Right.
So she gave both committees did a great job
Yeah.
methodically going through. But here's the letter, just as the town-owned properties came down to 4 serious considerations, and then said it came down to then 2. And then for the private, they did the same thing, and it came down to the 2.
Okay. So we have that essentially in writing. So
Right.
I think I'm good on that part. I don't want to, so by doing this letter, that's fine. I don't want to hold up, though, the Public Safety Committee from doing the next steps, which in my mind would be to either visit, if they want to go visit some newer facilities like West Hampton that's under construction, and start working on the RFQ.
So do we want to just take it in two votes? Do we want to just vote on this
Yeah,
one
let's vote
piece
on
since
this
we're in
too.
agreement on
Yeah.
that? And
Okay.
then talk,
Sure.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, right, already?
I'll second
We have
it.
a motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, next. Topic, subject?
I will,
In general, I'm not opposed to helping move this along.
Yeah,
Just
no, I think
what direction do you guys want to go in?
I think we need to, I mean.
How much freedom do you want to give that committee?
Yeah. Well, do we want to, I mean, it sounds like they've already started thinking about the RFQ. They've certainly got people on the committee that have dealt with these kinds of things and would, seemingly be able to put the skeleton RFQ together, just like the public, just like the senior center one did. And then obviously that's all got to come back before us when they get to that point. But if you feel that they need, something more specific to say, yes, select board would like you now to go ahead and start looking at, developing your RFQ.
With
perhaps,
these four properties in mind?
Yeah, with these properties in mind, and visit, properties that you feel would be, or visit other public safety complexes that you feel would be, useful to learn from, and see what kind of features, make sense for the town of Southampton, now and in the future, kind of thing. I mean,
The only thing, and I don't know if it's appropriate to bring it up now, but at some point it's going to have to be addressed, is if we do end up picking a existing town property, it's going to result in displacing something,
yeah.
right? So at some point in the conversation, we need a solution to that, and that, it may be premature to talk about that right now, but
No, that's a
it's,
good
at some
point.
point, it's got to, if it's the firehouse, where's the fire department go, the ambulance?
Yeah.
If it's the highway,
yeah.
then we're just turning around looking for a new spot for the highway department,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. All right, so do we actually need a charge, like another piece of paper like this, or just by voting this? Yes, Ed?
I've got a little compromise.
Good, I like compromises.
Well, instead of saying, okay, well, they haven't gotten to the two properties yet, this one isn't done, and a total new charge, how about if I try to, shall we say, amend this one with some additional duties? And I might take the ideas you came up with tonight, but I also might go back to the senior center feasibility charge and pull some of that over that's pertinent. And I'll bring that, I'll send it out before the next meeting.
Yeah.
But like I say, maybe just building onto this one rather than starting from scratch again.
Yeah, I don't think, that would make some sense to me. I don't see we need to start from zero here. I think we can provide them some level of clarity and direction, which I think is what they're asking for,
Yeah.
right? So,
I already sent you the minutes because you're on the committee,
Yes.
but basically when I'd asked them what their response was, and it's in the minutes, if you want to just create an RFQ and work with a consultant on site selection, schematic design and budget. And I would include, researching other public safety complexes. Because I just know that last time and this time, but I didn't get the sense that there was a strong willingness to go ahead and do that, and I think it's a major step. They haven't got to the point of saying, these are the must-haves and these are the would-like-to-haves.
Right.
But that was another pressure point from last time. They asked for a lot of bells and whistles, the price tag was huge, and the public didn't support it.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that we're following all the steps and not skipping any.
okay.
And I actually did, after that meeting, reach out on
The listserv?
the STAM listserv, and I've gotten a few responses back. They aren't going to help us on the RFQ end of things, but I've got some, I think, helpful responses back from some people that have built public safety complexes in probably the last 8 years or so.
Well, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people got money after 9/11, and we had all these towns building public safety complexes when the money was there, and then the money sort of dried up. And, I mean, other than West Hampton and Williamsburg, I don't know any other towns in this area that's built in the last 10 years. So if you've heard from a few, that's great. Were they local, or?
List.
The other one, and they didn't respond, but somebody else said it was, I think, Granby.
Granby.
But
Granby's more than 10 years old now. I went to visit them a long time
And
ago.
then, other than that, those are really the only local ones,
Yeah.
so far. But I'll tell you, even the ones that, shall we say, might not be local or whatever, I've got some very helpful pointers back from people that were either involved in it or are now involved with it after the fact, putting out some of the issues.
Yeah.
So.
Things that they didn't think about maybe when they were doing their design. I mean, that's always,
And that's
always a
what
good
was-
learning
What
experience.
was so
Yeah.
great about South Hadley and Hadley.
Yeah.
They
No,
just said, you cannot have enough storage.
Okay, are we done with that? Then we will have Ed
Yeah, put
work on
something
the
together.
amendment to this, and then we'll bring it back at the next meeting.
Sure.
All
Okay,
right.
so they will be meeting again. We will be meeting probably before the next meeting. that
When
we
is their
meet.
next meeting?
The 11th, the 8th, next Monday.
Oh, okay, yeah, we'll meet again on the 16th.
Okay, so they are, Sarah's going to come through with I think, a draft of an RFQ, so just so you know that they're moving along.
Okay, all right. Okay, then, next item, Hampshire County Retirement FY '23 payment discussion.
Well, I was counting on using the extra government aid for that.
Yeah, right, and now we have a mistake on their end, I gather, so go ahead, Ed, if you want to explain this a bit, but yes, we have a letter in from
Certainly. So
them?
basically, Jen received the letter from the Hampshire County Retirement System that certified the amount we owed for fiscal year 2023, and that the full amount is correct. However, when it got down to the
single payment.
paragraph that, shall we say, discounted it and quoted what it would be in a single payment, and that is what we built our budget off of. The actual dollar amount in there was $6,000 less than it should have been as a typographical error.
And that is their error, not our error.
That is correct.
Yes, thank you.
So now they're looking for their extra $6,000. They have said that, if we hadn't paid it by July 31st, that, they wouldn't penalize us, but in some of the other correspondence, they've alluded to the fact, well, if we haven't paid it by November, then, it would be back to the full amount, and which is $16,000 more plus interest. So figured I'd come back to the select board and find out, okay, do you want to pay this and deficit spend it by $6,000, and then by the special town meeting, we'll try to find money either through a transfer or some other means to cover that? Or does the select board want to say, we don't want a deficit spend no matter what? Please go back to them and see if you can push back and get them to hold off until whenever we have that special town meeting, so we can identify.
Yeah. And just a point of clarity, we did already pay the original amount that they had.
We have paid
Bill,
the
972.
972,288.
972,288 was what their first quote was to us.
Right.
And so now it will be 978,288. So
Correct.
they have gotten the bulk of their money, but they're short $6,000.
Yep.
Okay, any thoughts, comments?
I'm just looking at your very helpful sheet, Chris, that lists, 5 years' worth of budgets, and it's just, I know it's variable depending on the
Yeah.
employees and all that, but 972 sounded very realistic. It was more than $10,000 more than last
Seemed pretty good to me
year.
when I saw
I
it.
don't think we should deficit spend. I think it was their error. I think we should follow up with them and tell them that we're going to seek funding at the special town meeting. The problem is it's probably not going to be until after the first of the year, right?
Usually.
I think it's worth starting there, and then if we decide, that if they tell us that that's not an option, then,
Yeah. Was there a November
Without
date?
penalty.
Any kind of a drop dead date, or that was just
Yeah, that's their.
November, right?
November was their date?
That was their pushback, yes.
Okay.
So I would suggest that we draft a delicately worded letter that cites Mass General Law about deficit spending and when municipalities can do it, and we acted in good faith. And then our counter would be whatever the mechanism is to seek access to the $5,000 in the reserve fund, to appropriate that, because that's the maximum that we can do. We're now short $1,000, and here's the warrant that's going on the next special town meeting that we're going to have. We're doing everything we can. We're giving you the 5 that we have set aside. We owe you 1,000, but we can't do that without a vote of the register, a vote, and we don't have an STA scheduled at the moment.
And you're comfortable bottoming out the reserve fund?
Well, don't forget that reserve fund is not at the discretion of the select.
Right, we'd have to get the finance board on board with it, but I will not support a deficit vote.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm happy, I'm not happy, but I understand that we may split the vote on that, it's fine. But I'm going to vote for that, but I see we go to the reserve account. If the finance committee doesn't want to support it, okay, we can share that with the retirement board as well, but they made and I think if you push back hard enough with PARAC, we could say of the $972 that we gave you, we really overpaid you $474,000 on the double pay, and we're not supposed to have that second pay in until January. So
Yep.
you've had $474,000, and you should be earning at least 1% interest. So that's $2,000 in interest for the future value of money that you owe us. So if we make a good faith effort with the 5,000,
I don't feel comfortable bottoming out that. It's not our thing. I mean, even 50% of the deficit, 3,000, but to request that we take all of it, I think it was their mistake. And, I mean, we should start by just saying that we can't deficit spend. And so we, like you said, on good faith, had come up with a budget for that line. And it's, we can't just pull it out of the air.
Right. My only concern is though, they hold the bigger stick. So if they get PARAC to agree with them, they're just going to figure out what their loss is on that. They're going to reassess us, and it's going to get tacked onto the next bill.
But isn't it worth at least starting by saying?
It seems like we could start with the idea of, we won't have a
Your
chance to
mistake.
get this money until we do our special town meeting. And if they say, well, we can't give you an extension beyond November. So
Then we'll
we have
offer
to-
3,000
then we have to
or
make a
half of it
decision
or
about-
something.
Ed, do you know if this was just us? Was it just our letter that had the graphical error?
That's a good
Or was
question.
it every member of the?
Yeah.
I would assume so, but,
The other thing, only because we're on this topic, the other thing that I would caution us about, if you're not already up to speed on it, there's a very real probability that the retirement board, on its own authority, can just give a massive COLA one-time adjustment. It's in the budget. The governor pushed back on that piece and asked them to cap it at 5 and then asked for a 2/3 membership vote. And I checked with Ed, neither one of us could confirm whether anything happened with that today.
yeah, there
Might be a bigger battle coming here with the retirement board.
There were 41 outside sections that he sent back amendments on. So, yeah, I kind of have an idea. It might be a while before we hear back on that.
Because under my reading of the language that's there now, and taking the cheat sheet from MMA that they sent to us, is that they could do a 7, 8, 10% COLA adjustment. They capture that whole money, and all that money is on next year's assessment to us.
Correct.
So, a 10% increase is another $100,000.
No, that is unbelievable. Well, don't you think, though, it's worth at least an initial letter saying we are, we're not allowed to deficit spend?
Yeah.
We would need to wait until the special town meeting to do a transfer or come up with other funding, and then at least see the initial response. If the initial response is not good enough, we need blah, 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 then we can revisit whether or not we
Then we go to-
request
Then we go to the
reserve fund or select.
I think we're all in
board.
agreement of not deficit spending, but I'd kind of favor a two-prong approach myself
Yeah.
of try to see if they'll just say, hey, look, we'll leave you alone until the special town meeting, knowing that you've got to appropriate this. And then if they say, well, but we need it really by, November 30th, and we have no intention of doing a special town meeting for one item, although I know we fill the agenda usually when we do that, if we have a special town meeting, then we could come back with the notion of using the reserve fund. But I too, I mean, we finally got the reserve fund from 2,000 up to 5,000. I hate to give it away in the first quarter, first 6 months of the year. So I don't know, that would be my.
I'm okay with
druthers,
the
but-
two-prong approach. I also think we might want to consider having a special town meeting before the end of this year.
Yeah. Well,
And we used to.
Yeah.
It's just that we didn't always get free cash certified, and there were a lot of
Well,
other.
and I'm not even thinking along those lines. I'm thinking if it ends up being a 5-year contract for the web, I wouldn't want to hold up a web design and all that until the spring.
Sure. No, there may
You
be
know,
other
if
things.
there's only 2 or 3 items that go
Free
on.
cash. Well, why does it usually wait? It wasn't free cash, because that's ATM, but what's the, why does it keep getting pushed? We used to have it at the end of the year, and then lately it's been January, February.
It basically is, you don't want to have it before you certify free cash.
Okay, so that is the reason I thought.
Yeah, and we were just behind, I think, the last one.
Yeah, so maybe we won't be this.
Okay, so could we have a motion to some
I have
effect?
a motion to authorize the town administrator in the name of the select board to respond, citing Mass General Law that prohibits us from deficit spending, and that we will seek relief from the voters at the next available special town meeting, whose date has yet to be selected.
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion?
No, I don't think so.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay. I
So
think-
nothing about the reserve fund at this point in time?
Right.
Not at
correct.
this point. Let's try this.
See if they watch our
Try
meeting.
this strategy first, and if that doesn't work, then we'll come back to it.
Okay.
But let's.
We'll know if they're tuned in tonight.
We won't give them all the marbles all at once. All right. Okay, next. All right, perfect. Onward, the risk assessment policy. This is a draft of the fraud risk assessment policy that, Ed, I believe you drafted. This has sort of been in conjunction with our audit findings from time to time over the
Yeah,
last couple of years, and now we have a real draft to work with here.
It was actually something Melanson asked for a couple years ago, and it's been, and actually probably the original template I took this off of, I was able to get through Melanson, but it's been through a couple of different renditions. So I brought it forward, whether you want to consider it the first reading under the select board policy.
This needs 2 readings, is that right?
Yeah, correct. Or just look at it as a draft and take it back and get back to me with any suggestions you may have on it.
I have a couple of suggestions. I don't know if you want me to just send it to you. I did it on the actual select board packet.
Yeah, I would get some, other than just grammar and typo type stuff, some substantive suggestions?
Not really, actually. It's more, well, for one thing, I think it says City of Southampton. That should all be changed to town. It says Board of Selectmen. That should be changed to Select Board. And it says Chairman, and that should be changed to Chair.
Yeah.
So I'll send you where I underlined all that. And then I think there's one place where there's a sentence that's out of place.
Okay.
And I could just probably just email that to you if you want.
So what do we normally do? This is my first occasion of trying to have something that's a double read and vote on this. How do we normally tackle something like this? Do we just offer suggestions orally, in writing? Do we?
Yeah, I mean, offer suggestions orally or in writing. Like I said, first reading, it's a draft, and then hopefully the second reading, be able to adopt it.
Right, the intent is, once we announce the first reading, that starts the 30-day clock
Right.
for the public to come in on between then and the second reading.
Yeah.
So would this be posted on our website, or does the public have a chance to look at this, or how does this work?
I'll take it and post it on, I'll post it on the website either way.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so making those couple changes that Rini just mentioned.
Yeah, I'll just mention, just so it's clear, okay? do you see where it says general policy and responsibilities?
Yep.
The second paragraph there says, "The town administrator has the primary responsibility for overseeing the investigation of all suspected fraudulent acts defined in this policy." So it goes on, and then there's another place where it's duplicate. So if you go down to the next page where it says procedures for reporting, it says, the second to last sentence says, "The town administrator has the primary responsibility for the investigation of all suspected fraudulent acts as defined in this policy." That's a duplicate sentence, and it doesn't really belong there. So if you want to just, I mean, it just seems like it was just a repeated sentence, but it doesn't fit with the rest of that paragraph. So if you want to just, I'll send it to you, but I just wanted it to be clear. You know what I mean?
It's under the procedures for reporting.
Yeah, there's the same sentence as up and above there, but down here, it just doesn't seem like it follows, because it says, "The town recognizes that there may only be a suspicion of fraud, thus any concern should be reported to the town administrator. If the concern involves the town administrator, it should be reported to the chair of the select board." So it doesn't make sense to then say, "The town administrator has the primary responsibility of the investigation of all suspected fraudulent claims." So it seems like it was a duplicate sentence that doesn't belong in this particular paragraph. And then just all cases of suspected fraud will be investigated and appropriate action will be taken. That seems like the right thing to say, but that sentence,
Yeah.
I think, was just repeated.
That one sentence, okay.
And I just want to mention one other thing. In the next paragraph, it says, I just think this needs to change, and I don't know how to change it, but the last sentence, so they're talking about the employee and consequences and so forth, and it says, "It may be appropriate for employees to report suspected incidents of fraud or irregularity directly to the chief of police." I don't think that makes it really clear for an employee when that should happen or when it shouldn't happen. So I don't know what needs to happen about that, but I don't think you want to turn to an employee and say, "The policy says that you should have reported this to the police." I don't think it's very directive, and I don't know what would be the best way to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got it basically to the town administrator first, and then if that individual were somehow involved, then it should be reported to the chair of the select board. But then, yeah, however, in certain circumstances, so that certain circumstances.
There should be some clarification of that.
Yeah, a little vague in terms of when that
I don't
would
know
be.
how we can hold an employee accountable for they should have gone to the police when we're not even providing with them clear guidance.
Yeah, point. I wonder if it was something adopted from another town, maybe, that we can clarify a little bit, but, yeah, that's a good point.
The way I read that was, if an employee or a whistleblower feels that, hypothetically, the town administrator is doing is committing fraud, they can report that to the chairman of select board, should be immediately notified. However, in certain circumstances, it may be appropriate for employees to report suspected instances of fraud. So if they reported that to the select board, that doesn't necessarily mean anything's going to happen. So this is giving a way for an employee to go to the police if they feel it's necessary.
Almost as if it's in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just witnessed X employee go into the town safe, and they're driving away with a bundle of cash.
Okay, it just seems like certain circumstances really isn't clear.
I agree the wording.
Yeah, I think
the wording needs to be
I think we
cleaned
could
up.
tighten
Yeah.
up in certain circumstances, maybe, there might just be some tweaking of the wording there, just to make that clear. Because I do agree that that's a good example, John, actually, but I mean, if you were an employee trying to figure out, well, what does that mean? When am I supposed to maybe go see the police about this? So it would be just helpful, I think, to have it a little bit clearer for any employee.
And clearing up that particular section for that example might be, nothing in this policy shall prevent an employee, if they feel appropriate, filing a report.
Exactly, I think
To
that's
do so.
actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing should prevent them from filing a report with the police if they feel it's
The
appropriate. Yeah.
the only question that I have is under the media section. Is there an existing media policy that already restricts or directs all inquiries to the town administrator?
I'll have to take a look. I know there are some.
Because when I've seen it in the past.
Policies make the town administrator basically the
Yeah,
Point person.
chief information officer.
I would agree with that, but I've never seen it where it actually removes the chair of the select board. Because by statute, only the chair of the select board can talk to the media. Like, a non-chair member of the select board isn't allowed to under Mass General law. That's all. I'm just
Yep.
pointing it out, just make sure it's not in conflict with whatever other policies we have.
Okay.
The first sentence there on number 1, where it says, any town employee or elected official contacted by the media with, it should be just respect, not respected.
Yeah.
Respect or investigation. And just one other question for the board is, if you look back on investigation, now this is different from the paragraph above, where when it's specific to if the town administrator is involved, then they notify the chair of the select board. This, upon notification or discovery of a suspected fraud, the town administrator shall immediately investigate the fraud. The town administrator will make every reasonable effort to keep the investigation confidential. When deemed necessary, the town administrator shall coordinate the investigation with the town accountant and/or appropriate law enforcement officials. Legal counsel will be involved in the process as deemed appropriate. It doesn't say anything about notifying the select board.
Yeah, I think we should probably be involved there. Notified as well, under the investigation.
I move that we accept this as the first read.
Okay,
A second.
all right. Any further discussion on that? If not, can we have a vote, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, good.
Who seconded that one?
I did.
We did? Yep. So we'll post this, and then within 30 days, we come back for a second?
Yes. Right, but in the meantime, the language will be updated with all the
Yeah.
changes. And
Yeah.
that.
I'll just send over my thing. If you have questions about it, you can let me know.
Yeah, that'd be a big help. Thank you, Rainey.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and add the select board on that investigation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Good, thank you for that. Okay, next. And this is one I don't know, I wanted to get it on here. I don't know that we have had a time to really read through it again to reflect our memory of this, but I wanted to not let us forget the notion that we have to be discussing the community benefit payment from the cannabis fund, the monies that we're getting in here, the substance abuse prevention.
I wonder if it would be appropriate to take that language and share it with either, well, with both, I guess with the Board of Health and perhaps the police chief
In the school.
and the school and the fire chief as the one overseeing our ambulance service, and ask if they have suggestions
Right.
for us
Yeah.
to consider.
Yeah, and I think if you haven't had a chance, I think within our town contracts or whatever on Dropbox, I believe the host agreement is in there. So we have there's a couple of different fees in here which can get confusing, but we have the community impact fee and the quarterly amounts, and that's what's been coming in. And then we have already the first payment, I believe, right, Ed, of the community benefit payment, which is the $10,000. That's an annual agreement right now for
And that's
the purpose.
that's the one we're talking about.
That's the one
Right,
we're
this is the one
talking
we're
about.
talking about. So this is for the purpose of funding substance abuse prevention and mental health services in the town, including but not limited to school substance abuse education and counseling services. So this is one, I just wanted to bring it out here, and maybe we do need to do a little bit more, outreach to the various people that would be involved and see if we could get together with, they could come to us with some recommendations about how this might be used. But I don't want to lose it off the agenda. It's very easy. We've talked around it a couple of times, and I think we
Yeah.
do want to keep it front and center so we can make some decisions about that. So unless anybody has any specific things tonight, I know we can, certainly talk about things at the next meeting. We've got 2 more meetings in August, so to the extent we hear from anybody.
No, I would just reiterate what I said last time. It's currently the town itself does not provide any funding to the DARE program with the kids. It's all paid
Right.
for by the PTO.
PTO.
Yeah. So the DARE program would be one.
But the DARE program does not have any evidence of success, so that's the other important thing, and that might be one of the reasons why it was not funded anymore, because there's no evidence for some of the practices that certainly has a lot of positive things in terms of relationship with the police, but in terms of outcomes. So I would be very interested in, one of the 3 entities that you mentioned coming up with a suggestion, or bringing it to department head, because there might be
Yeah.
even council on aging. I know some towns that are actually doing education through the council on aging about cannabis.
Yeah.
So,
So maybe that would be a question just to bring it up at the next department head meeting too, and just say, we might be looking for ideas from.
No,
what
no,
is-
we are looking for ideas.
but the school,
But I
the
mean, from
school
others that
doesn't
are,
generally come, right?
others that are non-school related.
Does Eliza Puda come to your
Yeah.
department head
Once
meetings?
in a rare while.
Yeah.
I would try to, and
Get her there.
specifically invite her as
Yeah,
a,
So that she can be there.
right.
But I think, John is the EMD and police chief and board of health, and I was going to say, in addition to the, the ones that are normally involved, that would normally be involved in this topic. Okay, good. So we'll at least have that out there, and then we'll come back around on this, but I just wanted to put it out there on new business for now. Any other business that can't wait the next regular meeting?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I believe we have a late file, one-day alcohol event request
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
We do.
for an April, is that a V? A Vight? V-I-G-H-T?
I think so.
Hang on a second.
I believe it was.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
April Vight, Conant Park, one-day wine and malt beverage only license, Saturday, August 6th, from 1 PM to 7 PM for a birthday party.
Correct.
Right,
And I'd make a motion to approve.
okay,
I'll second it.
all right. Any discussion? My only comment to Ed is I'd like to see, and he's identified this place where we can maybe tighten up something on the form here, that these should be coming in at least a couple weeks ahead of time. We're getting too
They
many.
have all been changed in both places.
Oh, great.
All three different forms, to say a minimum of 3 weeks before the event.
Okay,
And- Yeah, and the other thing is, we had changed the one for Conant Park to say that, but it was just in the instructions. So the other thing we have added is right in the application where it says requirements, we have added a sentence that says must be received a minimum of 3 weeks before the event.
okay.
So they should now have no doubts about when it's due.
Yeah,
Well, I just want to mention again that every single one that we've approved for the last many, many, many months have all been people from out of Southampton.
Yeah.
And since my daughter is planning an event, she is going to Nonotuck, and it's over $300 for a pavilion, but I think it accommodates more people. But I think that the Park Commission, their expenses, the expense line, I think was underspent, which is another issue if they're going to be applying for tennis repair. But at any rate, it's just an observation.
yeah. Yeah, no, and I think at least if people get it in 3 weeks ahead of time, that gives us a week to get it on the agenda, and then, somewhere in between meetings, I mean,
Yeah.
at least 2 weeks has gotta
Well,
help us.
I think
'cause
from
these are-
memorial services or things like that, I think would have to be accommodating, but
Yeah.
not a birthday.
I mean, if there's some extenuating circumstance, I'm sure we could deal with it, but it just feels like we're getting a lot of last minute,
Yeah.
Well,
within the last 2 or 3, days before the event. So I think putting out stronger guidelines and trying to adhere to those is what
And-
we should do.
especially when you look at it, because Judy and I looked at it, and the park permit was dated June 14th. So they had plenty of time.
Okay. So
So
then
the
it's-
request was put in
Put
plenty
in.
early.
They actually got, yeah, and
Oh,
now
okay.
whether they just didn't realize that they
Had to do
might
this.
need a one-day permit until the last minute, I can't tell you. But I
Oh,
can tell
okay.
you, they got their park permit on June 14th.
Oh, okay, well, that's,
And of course, me, the little bean counter, part of me said, well, that one ain't happening. And Judy was asking if she should call them, and I was about to say yes, and I went, well, it's $45 for revenue too. So let me reach out to the select board and see if they're willing to.
Yeah, no, we'll accommodate, but I think we can get everybody on just clarifying it. And again, a lot of these are from folks that are out of town that may not know how often we meet or how this happens, but we'll try to get a little bit less last-minute urgency here. Okay, anything else under business that can't wait?
I just wanted to-
Did we actually vote?
No, I'm sorry. Kirk, thank you very much. We had a
All signing.
motion. Yeah, thank you.
We had a vote and a second.
We had the motion and a second, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, very good.
you.
Thank you
I
very
just
much.
wanted to ask a general question, Chris, because I know that I've gotten a couple emails recently that went to the entire select board about communication, about a number of things. We got one today about a property issue. We got one last week about things downstairs. So are you just responding to these? Can we just assume that you're going to, or, I mean, just keep it in my email, and then I'm not really sure whether or not we're supposed to address them?
Yeah, there's been a couple, one of which I've talked to Ed about, and so that's something that will come up again in terms of disposal of old items, but I'm not sure which other one you're mentioning. But if I do write a response to him, I would copy everybody.
Okay.
So to the extent that I haven't written anything, it means that usually I'll talk to Ed about it first and figure out what our strategy is, and does it need to come to the full board? Is it something I can just go ahead and answer or whatever? But yeah.
All right, and then I had another question, but I just wanted to see, do we have any discussion about ARPA on the agenda?
Not for tonight. We're going to pick it up later in one
Okay,
of our
so I just wanted to make the board aware of something. In Francine's absence, I came in to sign the warrants today, and then last week I came in with Francine to go over them together, and we had approved 3 hours for 3 months, 3 hours a week for 3 months for the health director out of ARPA money to get it. But it was not intended to be, part of their usual pay and retirement and so forth. So I noticed that the timesheet was signed with all the hours coming out of the operating budget, as opposed to 6 hours for a 2-week cycle coming out of the ARPA funds.
Out of the ARPA
So
money.
that got corrected, but in the meantime, Jen Day contacted the retirement board and said if she's performing her usual duties, then the money will be applied to the retirement. So I don't know that we need to talk about it now, but I think that, I just wanted to say that I've always told people that right now is a very powerful time to be on the select board, because we were given $1.8 million and we don't have to go to finance committee. We don't have to go to the town meeting to approve what happens. I think we've done a very good job. I think we did a survey. I think we've been very methodical. I don't know if we've done enough for broadband, which was number one, but we certainly did premium pay. We certainly have been helping out businesses. It was never my intention to bypass their traditional wage process for the town, which is basically hours, it goes to PQB, it goes to finance, it goes to the select board, and then it goes to town meeting. So we gave wages out as part of ARPA for premium pay, and we gave the fire chief a bonus. And I really feel like we should go back and apply the 3 hours a week for 3 months as a bonus, similar to what we did with the fire chief.
All right, well, I think we'll have to take this up at our next meeting.
I just wanted to mention that.
When we bring up the ARPA, again, we did not approve it with that clarity in mind, and we'd have to talk about.
We approved it and specified that it was going to be 3 hours a week, but it was not going to be applied to retirement.
Well, I don't know that we said that. I would want to go back and check that.
Okay.
I don't know that we actually said that, so I don't want to make that.
Okay, so right now, it is currently being taken out of ARPA, including money for retirement.
Okay.
So the figure might end up being different too, because now we're talking about more than the 3 hours a week.
Let's get our information together, and we'll have it at some other agenda meeting. But I think as long as the 3 hours at least has to be charged to the ARPA fund.
Well, that got corrected. I don't know if it got corrected back to the beginning of the fiscal year.
It will be.
Yeah. So
it will be.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we will have probably at the next, I think the next meeting, we've already asked, we had sent out the quarterly report form and asked that those that had been early approved turn in their quarterly report. So to the extent that they have the first half a dozen,
right?
we will get them in so that they were supposed to be July 1, but we didn't get the report form designed and out to them. So there's a group that have come in, I think, that are the first half a dozen that had been approved, that will take a look just at their quarterly reports. But anyway, and then everybody else has already been notified of when their quarterly report will be due, which is October for the next one. Okay?
Okay, so we'll bring up this issue.
We'll get
when we
ARPA
do
back on
ARPA?
the agenda probably toward the end of the month, yeah. When we have our August 30th meeting, probably. Okay. All Right, just taking a look, old business, a couple things. Ed, just an update on the Senior Center Feasibility RFQ process. I know the deadline is coming up, but we're ahead of it, I'm sure, but I didn't remember exactly when.
I'll just give you a brief timeline. Recently is we passed the date when questions were due. The Senior Center Feasibility Committee got together and compiled responses to those questions. We sent those out to everyone that has requested the RFQ package for clarifications and answers as an addendum. And the actual RFQ responses are due back this Thursday, August 4th, to my office. And I know your next question will be, have I received any yet? And no, I have not.
Yep.
But my memory is there were 27 entities or vendors that actually requested the packages.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully somebody will put in their proposals. I mean, I think
I'm sure.
a lot of people wait until the last minute. I think we found that on various other things, so.
What will be the process going forward then?
Well, once we get those back, and I'd have to go back and look at the timeline that the committee set out. I believe they gave themselves 2 weeks for the voting members of that committee to take those responses and actually score them.
Score them, I think.
Okay, so that's why we have a meeting on the 18th, because they wanted more lead time to review them before actually meeting. But that would be a decision by the Senior Center Building Committee, not us.
No, basically they would go through, they would rank those. If they felt that there was any that needed to come in and be interviewed or do a presentation, they would do that. They will then come to the select board with a recommendation, and it would be the select board's responsibility to actually contract with the successful vendor to do the feasibility.
So we would be addressing that at a meeting sometime?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay, so things are on schedule at least, which is good. Yep, all right. Okay, next, just wanted to bring back up the department committee report schedule. You have I think we pretty much agreed on this I still had it marked as draft, and I wasn't sure if we had actually agreed on it, but I think we were fairly okay with it.
At it.
It got people down pretty much only to one time a year, rather than twice a year for the most part. And we do have Senator Vilas and Rep. Pease confirmed for the third meeting in August, and I guess the question is whether we're going to be able to get anybody out of that crew next meeting, the Eversource or Charter or HGE person. Any one or two of them would be nice, if we have a chance to reach out to them.
I will find out and
See
let you know.
who's available. I think at the last meeting, John had raised some thoughts about kinds of questions that he would ask in general.
Yep.
So we can go back and just, even in the note to them, perhaps highlight a couple of those same issues that we'd like them to try and address. Okay?
I think that you did a great job on this. I mean, all the people together makes a lot of sense. The only thing I would request or think about is having the tree warden go up a week, so that, because he's the same person as the building person.
Yeah.
So have the tree warden be with housing, zoning, and planning, so he can report both
At the same time.
at the same time.
That's a possibility. Okay, I can do that. Yep. And I think there was one thing we had talked about, and I'll take a look back at it again. Last time we had given everybody 3 or 4 bullet points of what we wanted them to talk about. And I think this time at one of our last meetings, Francine had wanted the department heads, to the extent that they're receiving any grants, to talk to us about any grants that they're applying for or receiving and how that might impact their budget. So we can put that in the new.
Right, we have a bullet point in there on their budget,
Right.
if they have any, concerns or whatever, but
Right.
we can add
We
one
can add that to
specific-
it too, and then-
specifically for grants.
Yeah, so then I'll take the draft notification off of here and it can be the actual one. Okay. How about any updates on COVID?
It's still out there.
Well, yeah.
I mean, as compared to a year ago, the numbers might be down, but at least to me, from seeing the people that are coming down with it, that have, have escaped it for 2 years or whatever. The current variants seem to be, shall we say, much more contagious than
Yep.
what has been out there, before.
We're not, maybe we are, maybe we're not, but I mean, how big of a stockpile are we sitting on of COVID-19 tests?
That I don't know, because basically the Board of Health has them. So I did not receive those. They have them.
Those were the new ones that we got, the free ones from the state?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we already got new ones? Then
And
we should,
there was supposed to be like, I think, 1,100
should be
or
some
something.
right up by the
gosh, yeah.
right up by the treasurer's
I
office.
was going to suggest, especially, well, right, taxes right now, but with the extra hours for elections, people coming in for that
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I see if they would be so kind as
So you have
to
none
put
in
some
your
out.
office right now? You have none in your office right now?
Oh, I've probably got maybe 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might grab a couple if you don't mind
Oh, don't,
tonight.
please, that's what they're for.
Yeah.
I mean, there are
No, we
events,
shouldn't.
some events require you to test before you arrive.
Right, yeah.
If we can, if we have them, if we can print them out and make them part of the election process too.
Yeah.
When all
Yeah.
the voters are coming in, here's your thank you gift for voting.
I mean, that's why I went around to all the businesses, because the last thing I wanted to do was have them be expired. We spent about
Oh,
$26,000.
I mean, I've used a couple myself in probably the last, week or whatever.
Yeah.
Because after 2 years of
Yeah.
staying away,
Yeah.
my 93-year-old mother-in-law
Oh, really? That's too bad.
came down
Oh,
with it.
it's
And
been-
I happened to be, wasn't real close to her, but I was in her house for 2 days before she knew that she
Oh, I
actually
know.
had
Yeah.
it, so, but,
It's been rampant.
so, I mean, even though I had it three months ago, it's like, okay, my antibodies are probably up, but let me
Yeah.
test just in case.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can put a small stash out every day in by the treasurer's office
Yeah,
somewhere. Not
yeah,
the-
with
not a
a
giant
sign,
motor-
right. Please
you know,
take to your household or something.
Something, if people are coming in, I think that wouldn't be a bad idea, so that,
Yep, we don't want them
And
to
then,
expire.
and, maybe the Board of Health has got another plan for distribution too, but we can at least make a few of them available here, and I'm sure at the senior center and the library again. I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
If they're not having any, they should at least have some at each of those locations, okay? East Street Bridge, we keep hearing about pouring cement, and it looks like things are happening.
Yes, they'll do another pour at 10 a.m. tomorrow for the approach slabs, and then tentatively they have a pour scheduled on this Friday, which is the 5th, for the sidewalk, so it's coming along.
Yeah,
Very good.
good.
Glad to hear it.
And
Okay.
we're just waiting to get an updated schedule for the rest of the work and the completion from the contractor, and as soon as we have that, I'll send it along to you.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Anything else on the voice over IP, where we,
No,
with the vendor?
everything's ordered and being programmed. I still expect it to be installed about the end of this month, beginning of September.
This has been really taking a long time.
it has been, but hopefully they will get it done. That's the main thing.
So the end of this month?
That's what I expect, yes.
Okay.
All right. Next, we've got a few PCFs. Yep. John, you want to pull
So
on those?
the
Yep.
first one is a PRF, and this is for the on-call substitute transfer station person. Couple things. One, the pay scale's being adjusted to minimum wage, and included in your packet is the old job description with some modifications. Specifically, we're not open on Thursday anymore, removing that. And then Randall added some scratch down the bottom, but on the other side of it, you have the rewritten current version. And this is just to update this posting, put it up on the website, and then just leave it open, ongoing. It's that particular one.
Can I ask you a question about that? Oh, actually, were you going to do it separately?
Yeah, I was just gonna do that one and then take the others in groups.
Okay.
All right, so we have the
I'll make a
PRF for the
motion then to
on-call. We have a
approve the
motion? Yep.
PRF
Okay, we have a
for
second.
the transfer station on-call substitute.
We have a second, please?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion on the PRF? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Yeah, John?
So the next I can take it, there's a PC, an emergency 2-week appointment PCF for Anthony Smith, followed by an on-call transfer station part-time non-benefited PCF for Anthony Smith. And you'll notice that we have another individual right afterwards. A little background on this is our dedicated individual over there will be away from work for a period of time. And the other person who previously was hired there has been moved over to a full-time position at the DPW, so that leaves no operators. So this person and the next person will cover the open shifts over a period of time, and then ultimately, when the other employee comes back, they'll go on some sort of rotating schedule, so they're not and then Randall's intent will be to possibly use them in other areas as well, but not to exceed 20 hours.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about. On the actual, I think it's the, it's not the emergency 2-week one, but, yeah, it is. An emergency 2-week appointment.
Yep.
For both of these people, it says number of weekly hours, 20. Shouldn't that see less than 20?
Well, during,
That's it, but it's a temporary,
It's non-benefited?
does not carry benefits with it,
Really?
yes, by our PPB rules and regulations.
right, so both of these are non-benefited,
Yeah.
and
So even the emergency and the other one are both temporary positions, though.
correct. And I will say that this Saturday, when I used the transfer station, our highway superintendent was down there performing hands-on training with the individuals.
I must say, it's interesting too, that our new trash bags say Hinsdale, New Hampshire on them.
We still can't get the Southampton ones ordered because of COVID.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
you said that this accommodates the minimum wage, so it's $14.25, but the intention isn't to build into this an increase for January 1, right?
Well, in hindsight, we probably should have scratched $14.25 and put minimum wage. So
Well,
that has that
$14.25
adjust.
is the current
It is.
minimum
Yeah,
wage.
14
So we
right
just have to
now.
do another one of these for
In
all
January.
of the minimum wage employees
Right.
in January,
When we get
if
to
we
Jan-
improve it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right,
That might be, well,
yeah.
On January 1st with these, they will just have to go to 15. He'll have to put in a PCF to go to $15.
a blanket one to cover them all.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, okay. All right, so do we have a motion to approve, want to take both of these together? Anthony Smith and Charles Dalton, both for emergency 2-week appointments and the on-call transfer station, more permanent, quote unquote.
Not to exceed 20
Not
hours,
to exceed.
temporary, non-benefited.
Right.
Yep. Not to exceed.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? If not, could I have a vote, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
And then last, we have a PCF to accept the resignation of Patrick Wright, equipment operator of the Highway Department.
okay, just one thing we've got, why do we have two of these?
For Patrick?
Did we
There was
do,
something here about the effective date on the 26th.
Right.
One has got Bradley's signature on the 25th, and one has got his signature on the 13th.
think there was a letter of
There's
explanation.
actually two different ones here.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's the first one, which is the resignation, and then he didn't show up to work for a few days, so
Oh.
actually, the highway superintendent terminated him, so that's the other one.
Oh, okay, I see that now.
I have had a conversation with the highway superintendent, because he looked at it as reducing any benefit accruals the individual may have by terminating him and sending a message. I have reminded the highway superintendent that he should be having a conversation with me on these particular decisions, because as I looked at that, I looked at that and said, I have a resignation letter here. Therefore, if this individual ever tried to put in for unemployment insurance, I can fight that. It would be with the resignation letter. Termination letter might not be so
Right.
dynamic, so, in that particular case. So we are now clear on that, and the highway superintendent understands that particular perspective on this. So
So was he given an actual separation letter as well, or does he have to have one?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, so.
Okay. And does the PQB doesn't need to sign this one?
We signed one of them.
You would not have signed the one that terminates it.
The separation one?
PQB.
You haven't
The
signed that one?
separation one.
That didn't come before, it was just a
Yeah.
resignation.
So you have the
Because it
resignation
came
one.
like 2 days or 3 days after the
Gotcha.
fact of
Okay, you haven't signed the
original one.
resignation one? Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm sure you noticed, or I hope you noticed, that that particular individual is a reference person for the one of the ones we just approved, so. But I'm sure he is aware of that.
All right.
So we do have a PCF for Patrick Wright here.
Yes.
All right. Could we have a motion then to accept, or whatever we have to do, accept the resignation and
PCF
separation?
resignation?
I'll make a motion to approve Patrick Wright resignation, effective 7/21/22.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, there was a second there, I'm sorry. We'll count a second in there.
I thought Joyce
Oh,
said
so, I'll second. I don't know.
Joy's very quiet down
Yep,
there. I'm sure I
second.
heard
I
her.
seconded, yes, don't worry.
I'm sure I heard her second it. She always does, right? Okay. All right, perfect. Lastly, we have a license, another
I move to
permit?
approve the Heather Dussault permit for one-day wine malt beverage only license on Saturday, August 20th, 2022, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. for an anniversary picnic at Conant Park.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so approved. We have no warrants tonight, and I think we have a variety of select board minutes. We have
I think there's one more item
Oh,
before that.
sorry.
The wage
Can't
sheets.
find my
Wage
agenda, but
sheet,
isn't
yes.
it?
Wage
Wages?
sheets.
Yeah, it's, signing the
Oh, sorry, signing the wage
fiscal year
sheets.
23 wage sheets.
Yep, I'm sorry, yep. So, yeah, what do we need to do there, Ed?
And the signatures, there's 2 copies here. The signature lines are on the second page of them.
We have to vote? Move these?
Okay.
No, just requires signatures.
Okay.
Okay, well, can we
Remember,
discuss
we've
that?
ever done
Because
this.
I don't want to sign this.
Yeah.
I have too many questions. I thought we had to, so that's, I thought there was going to be a vote, and I was just going to vote
so-
against it.
Yeah,
If-
let's go
if
back.
that's
So
what it
this-
came down, but-
This is, we're signing the wage sheets based on what we had put in the budget, is that correct?
Correct. Or, yeah.
The
I
budget.
absolutely never remember doing this any years that I've been on the select board.
Really?
We
Yeah.
did sign it last year, because I had
Every
the
year.
copy of it.
All right, that's interesting.
Last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your preference is to do what?
Well, it's just, so when I saw this today, come in, because it came in as a separate email. I pulled it up, and I pulled up last year's, and I did a comparison to the two. And the top section all makes sense to me. I recognize all the numbers and the increases. But when I get down to the fire department, I don't remember having a conversation about 13, 14, 12% increases. Well, yeah, there's 100% in there, but that's a math error. 18% increase in positions. So I checked my files for, as far as chair of PPB, and we're holding 2 requests before us now for adjustments until a time when we can get together with the fire chief to discuss. But none of these other ones have come before us. I inquired on my own with the town treasurer, asking for the supporting documents that justify these increases, thinking I must have missed something or forgot about something, or maybe I wasn't at a meeting. And there's nothing in the file, other
Does this
than...
include the ATM, the special town meeting increases and the minimum wage increases?
This would have been what the select board voted to put into place with what John brought forward, and I can't remember.
The wage scale?
The wage
So I
scale.
did pull up the wage scale.
Yeah.
The maximum number on the wage scale is $29.82, and there are at least 6 people that are making over $30.
Yeah.
And as I know, one of these names on here, I believe they're getting paid over $30 to do payroll.
Well, you would have had whatever you would have approved with that wage scale, and then the 2% on top of that. So if you had somebody at 29 something, I would assume that 2% takes it to 30.
My objection is that every other department head, even if they have a wage scale, goes through the PPP process when they adjust the scales. Now, it's possible that your explanation there on the wage scale, but where was the summary sheet to say we're going from here to here and transparency for everybody to sign off on it? This is the first time that we're actually seeing the number, 13 to 14%, which may or may not be fine. I don't know, because there's no supporting document that we hold everybody else to task on.
And is this the change that went into effect from June 30th to July 1? Or is this accommodating a number of steps that we're taking along the way? There was additional town meeting money going to the fire department. There was more money going from minimum wage. There was also additional...
The only two pieces that would play into this are that scale that John brought forward, and I can't remember if it was in January or when it was, that
We
the
voted in
select board
February.
approved.
Yeah.
And then the select board approved a 2% increase COLA for everyone. So it would have been 2%
As
on
of
top
July
of that.
1st.
As of July 1st.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we table this till the next meeting? What do we need to do? How does this affect
I think,
doing payroll? We had payroll this week, right?
It's what they're being paid, so.
I would want more clarification. I agree. Whenever there is even a contract increase, we get a form that goes by PQB, and I think that it's, I would feel better about understanding it.
I mean, I think, I agree. And given the explanation, Ed, I think they just need to go through the exercise and document each one. This is what it was in January. The wage scale came out. We approved it in February. It went to here. Here's where the 2% is coming on. I mean...
Well, by that, you don't know what the positions are. You don't know what
Correct.
the names are, so you can't match them up, is what you're saying.
Right, and if you go down this list, that scale, which I can re-forward it if anybody wants it right away, but you had EMS line item, and then you had fire. It doesn't look like anybody's in fire anymore, which is highly probable. I just don't know.
They're all fired, there's no...
Well, they're coded fire
Yeah.
for the department, because EMS falls under the fire department.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's why it only says fire over there.
Oh,
Yeah.
it doesn't say EMS. You're right, because didn't they change it to 70/30 or something?
No, that's just the breakout for the budget.
Okay.
But I think it's important that they do the paperwork to show the math and how it got to here, which more than likely will then justify, or it should match up to these numbers, and then we've created the file.
Right.
And I think it should go through the process that everybody else has to go through, including you as a town administrator. You had to go through the process of PPP to get your 2% adjustment. It's just everybody, for transparency, goes through it, and then that way, no one's caught off guard seeing these double digits.
Okay. All right, so let's have a clear motion to that effect in terms of where it's supposed to start and through whom to make the adjustments before we, so that we can bring this back and talk about it at another meeting. So this is the responsibility of the fire
Well,
chief?
I would like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody else has questions on anything else that's on here or any of the other departments. But I would just like for the 50-some-odd people listed under the fire department, that for the purposes of
Right.
ease, I'm happy on the PPP side to accept an Excel sheet that shows, here's where they were on January 1st. We then did the adjustments sometime around February. We did, just show, you don't have to do
I
one
mean,
sheet of
knowing
paper
Chief
for every single
Workman, he
one.
probably has that. We just don't have it as a
supplement.
supporting document.
Right,
Right.
yep.
Okay, so that would go from fire chief to PPB first?
I'm okay with it coming straight here so that we can just act upon it.
All right. All right, so let's,
And then, I'm sorry, so to do that, step one, and step two, going forward, anytime there's a wage adjustment for anybody outside of a collective bargaining agreement, it has to follow the PPB process.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's currently in
And there
place.
needs to be a paper trail.
Right.
yeah, okay. So let's, is that somewhat of a motion?
That's a
there?
motion.
And I'll second that.
Everybody clear on that? All
Yeah.
right, all right. So at this point in time, we will not act on this tonight, except for those recommendations. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So we'll bring that back once we have the full information. Thank you on that. All right, last thing, we have a few select board minutes to approve. I'm going to take a couple separate ones. There's January 25th, and February 22nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 25th, 2022, and February 22nd, 2022 minutes.
Okay. Somebody second?
So just,
Yeah,
I'll second for discussion.
yeah, go ahead, John.
So the 25th minutes are executive session minutes. So
Right, it was,
we're just-
we opened it in public.
But they're going to
and then-
remain restricted or confidential.
Right,
We're not voting to release them.
This is the
No,
open
this is the
session
this is the
portion,
open part of- that goes into the executive session.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
because it was still open
It's
session.
the open session that allows us to go into executive session, and the same basically for February 22nd.
Right.
Correct.
And then we did come back in, did we? Yeah, we did come back in open session, but we had nothing further to discuss.
Right,
and
we thought we might.
We adjourned at that
right.
point in time. So, all right, so we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. For April 12th, a lengthy meeting, I had a couple of typos in here that I just wanted to correct, so
Yeah,
if we don't
go ahead,
mind.
me too.
So just in the very beginning, under open time, just a spelling, Richard Leclerc is pronounced that way, but I believe it's Leclerc in terms of his last name, how he spells his last name. Leclerc, I believe is in there twice. This is when we were talking about the Memorial Day Parade. And then there's one other one on page 4 of that same one, about the third bullet point under the annual town report. Motion was moved and seconded to dedicate the annual town report to Ted Hendrick and Maxine Hendrick in memoriam, not memorandum.
Yeah.
That's all I saw personally. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I had, I think, two. I'll just re-review it. This would be. I'm looking at where it says budget request FY '22, which is on page 3. I circled it, but I'm trying to figure out why I circled it. The last part says priority project before the next fiscal year. So I'm pretty sure John Lumber noted that he did not see any fat in the budget. The board discussed an idea that T.A. Gibson had regarding the MS4 stormwater cost unfunded mandate that is here to stay, which would be to implement a water fee. This would require a review and a plan before implementing, and John asked that this be a priority project before the next fiscal year. I don't know why I underlined it, other than to not forget about it, maybe.
Okay. John won't let us forget?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see any errors in
I
that.
just had a question, too, on the next page, when they're talking about the capital committee. So down the bottom where it says, John Lumbra noted that the capital committee would like direction, and then it says, Maureen Groden worried about the new practice tying the board's hands, so to speak. Is that clear that my point was, what if the capital committee decided they wanted to spend more than to keep only 50% in there? Is that clear, the way she put it?
yeah, I don't know if you need to say so to speak. I mean, tying the practice, tying the board's hand, but then Margaret responded that this would be a guiding principle. It wasn't something that was
Okay.
mandatory. I
I
think
just want
that's
to
how
make sure
we,
that
I think
what
that's how we
I said
decided upon it. It was supposed to be a guideline, but not necessarily mandatory.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure that it was clear that what I was, the point I was making is,
Okay,
but, all right, that sounds good.
yeah, all right. So with those couple
think that's
corrections,
it.
could I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of
April 12th.
April 12th.
All right, could I have a second?
Second. Oh,
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Who seconded that?
John.
Take your pick.
John this time. All right, and then we have, I think, one other meeting, open meeting on April 26th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from Tuesday, April 26th.
Second.
Okay, any,
There's just one typo. Page 2, first item, should say, second line, should say ATM ballot, right?
well,
No,
Tell me-
ATE, annual town election.
town election ballot.
Oh, town election, okay, all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Shouldn't use acronyms in official minutes.
Yeah, I agree on that one, yes.
Right, I'd never seen that
Yeah.
done like that. And then in the end of page 2, it said the board asked, so this is new business, action discussion, 1, 2, 3, fourth line. The board asked to talk to Chief Workman, the Board of Health at the next meeting. Something's missing there.
And,
And the
maybe?
Board of Health, yeah,
Oh, okay, and, all right.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah. Okay, so with those corrections, can we have a motion to approve?
We already have a
Good.
Got a
motion
motion?
and second.
I'm sorry. Seconded, all right, all those in favor then of
Aye.
Aye.
26? Aye, all right. And then one last one, I believe, June 14th, and this was also going into executive session, but then we came out of executive session and reported in on that. Does anybody?
Motion to
see
approve.
this? Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, anybody have
I didn't see
any
anything.
errors, any comments? No? All right, if not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, approved, thank you. Okay, guys, well, not bad. I think we're done.
Good.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, can I just
No.
ask one other thing? The items, the pending items,
Yes, oh, I'm sorry.
you know, I really, I just wanted an update on the, for next time, or one of the next times, about the green communities.
Okay,
You know, I just don't know what's happening with that, and I don't want to lose the money.
right, okay, right. Yeah, and I'm assuming that, Ed, if you had anything from the Beagle Club, you would have told us, but we need to hear back from them pretty soon, right?
I have not heard anything back from them.
Okay. Okay, if nothing else, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. We are adjourned at about 8:27, thereabouts. Thank you, everyone.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.